Welcome back to the party, everybody. This is Morty, and I am your host, Lunch, aka TheIndianJesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you, and let's party. Welcome back. How is everybody doing? Oh, it's been a minute since we were just chilling, just us, doing debates and debate panels and all that stuff. We are back to the low key, not low key, but you know, the original, the OG. Shout out to the Steel Man in the building. Welcome to the party. So I am very glad that I got up in time to see this. Our favorite Dave Smith had on Nick Fuentes. And, we saw Nick Fuentes on PBD a couple weeks ago. And, I was like, this is the first time I'm like doing any kind of deep dive on Nick Fuentes. And, it wasn't, it was pretty bad, but it wasn't as bad as, I kind of made up in my mind. But we also know that PBD is not necessarily the most honest and genuine guy, and maybe you can see that Nick is going places and or gonna get in trouble, and PBD wants to have that relationship. But Dave Smith is not gonna play those games. So the podcast was almost 4 hours, so we're obviously not gonna be able to get through everything. But I picked the part where I thought we got most of the meat. So let's dive right in. As always, guys, if you can hear the video, please do let me know.
When I did the Douglas Murray debate, I had always, I've been doing big shows for a few years now, and I'm always taking the controversial issue of whatever the current thing is. And it's not because I just want to be a contrarian. Like, I don't know. It's just always wrong. And it's always so, like, when it was the COVID lockdowns, I was against that. When it was the vaccine, I was against that. When it was the Ukraine war, I was against that. And
that's shit. Me too.
And I would go on, like, Rogan's show right when it's a white hot issue and be making the case against it. And so I'd get a lot of like pushback. I was kind of like used to the level. But then after the Douglas Murray one, I mean, I really rose up on Israel's most wanted list, and I was swarmed and in what seemed to be kind of coordinated, but I don't know. But just all of a sudden, like, my Twitter experience changed, and it's everybody with, everyone with Hebrew, letters in their name is furious at me and all this. And I had never really been like, I had never quite had that before. I'd never quite had like a mob after me like that. Mm-hmm. And here we are. This is happening. It's this year. I'm 42. I was under no real concern. Like at this point, it's like the censorship regime seems to have been rolled back. Joe Rogan's got my back. Tucker Carlson has my back. I'm kind of fine. Like I never actually thought Douglas Murray was going to get me canceled, Mm-hmm. So like I'm fine. I'm 42. I got a great job. I'm making really good money. I got a hot wife. I got beautiful kids, and I'm Jewish. I'm as inoculated against like falling into this as you could be. And I will tell you that, like, there were moments where
and yet, do they ever go after?
I just found myself be like fucking like, dude. It's like by the time you're having the most disingenuous, annoying fucking like rabbi, like just and doing like the dumbest thing ever. They attack you, and then if you defend yourself, they go, "He doth protest too much." You're like, "Fuck."
No win. It's a no-win situation. We just had this with some little girl. I say little girl as a pejorative, but this person in the Discord server just flinging shit. And it's like, if I engage in this, then it's just gonna be like, see? Oh, so like, I just ignore it. This dude was talking about my family, talking about all that stuff, but the opinions of, what is it? The opinions of a sheep matter not to the lion.
Dude, and it almost feels in a way like it almost seems like that's the point of their existence.
Yes.
Like it almost seems like Rabbi Shmuley, you're like, what fucking character from Adolf Hitler's play did you spring to life in and like become? And so, okay, so if I'm going to be completely honest, it's like, I see that, and then I go, well, let me try to put myself in the perspective of like when you were talking, it really hit home with me when you were talking to Patrick David about Ben Shapiro quote tweeting you, and like how fucked up that is, dude, to like go after someone. So you're so young at the time.
Yeah. So if you're not familiar, Nick was telling the story about, I think he was like 14, and Ben Shapiro retweeted one of his tweets and was pretty vitriolic, and that kind of started the Groyper experience.
And like so like I understand like getting pushed to the level of like, fuck the Jews. Like I get it. And I understand why I've seen lots of people get like pushed to that. And
in the same way, I completely understand why people are like, fuck atheists. But it don't really work like that.
Would also say, in addition to that, one of the things that's been kind of interesting to me is that there's been one of the parts of the campaign against me since then, which Douglas Murray himself penned in an op-ed for the New York Post, and every Zio bot or Zionist account on Twitter has said, is that I'm not really Jewish. Douglas Murray said in his article, he goes, Dave Smith claims some Jewish ancestry, which is just like so bizarre. And then
the no true Scotsman fallacy.
a bunch of these people are like, they're like, well, he had one Jewish grandfather, but that doesn't count because his mother wasn't Jewish, so he's not a Jew, which is like the weirdest goddamn thing. And
weird.
Okay, so I'm starting this conversation with two pretty big concessions, but I mean both of them. And I will say that did kind of open my eyes a little bit to go like, well, look, why is it that they want to take that away from me? You know, like, why is it that they must first remove that, or at least attempt to remove that? And that is because there is a layer of added protection that you get.
Yep. And the same thing, like when I talk about black issues, you may have heard me say before that the black community TM is the worst enemy of black Americans. By me not being white, it does give me a little bit of protection against the how dare you of it all.
It is, and look, part of this is natural. It is tougher to convince people that a black guy hates black people. Now, you could be a black guy who hates black people, but it's just like a lot less likely. Yes. You know, we all kind of giggle at, what's his name?
You could definitely be a brown guy that hates black people. I'm not. I'm just saying you could be.
In California, the black face of white supremacy type
Larry
shit.
Elder. Larry Elder, the black face of white supremacy. Let us never forget how insane the woke media was.
But I certainly would at least concede that there is at least a layer of protection to being a Jewish guy who criticizes Israel, and that's bullshit. Like, that's bullshit. It shouldn't be like that. Any American, I was even going to say any American taxpayer, but that's stupid too. Any American. It doesn't even matter if you're a net tax drug. You have freedom of speech, and you can say what you want to, and you can have opinions about a foreign government. You can have opinions about a people. Like, you have the right to have that. And so I will concede, number one, I understand where there's a tendency to like kind of blame Jews. I also understand that there's an unfair degree of protection that you get. However, I think you were also very unfair in the way you came at me and saying that the only reason I'm on these shows is because I'm a Jew or something. I mean, it seemed to me.
So most of what we skipped in the first hour of this was just them kind of talking about, first just warming up the conversation, then kind of talking about their past and like how they got there and all that stuff. And it wasn't really, meaty enough, and they gonna get into it. Shout out to Liberty Plus TV. Welcome to the party. We do have a running poll that says Nick Fuentes is bad for politics. Agree or disagree? And if that's what you think, then you would definitely have to agree. But remember, the prompt matters. If you know, you know. Welcome, sir.
Only reason I'm on these shows is because I'm a Jew or something. I mean, it seemed to me, and again, I say this, like, I like you. I've always liked you. I say this, it seemed insane to come at me over that. Is it like your issue you said on Candace was that I didn't deny the Holocaust or something, or that I wasn't willing to question World War II?
How dare you?
Come on, Dave.
Which I've been pretty famous for defending the biggest questioner of World War II. I think 40% of my interviews are just asking me about Daryl Cooper. And so I guess that I just wonder, like, what was it that you were trying to, like, what was the beef? What was the disagreement?
Well, the beef started, and it was about a year ago, so I don't remember it exactly, but the beef started that, of course.
Is it just me, or does Nick have the worst, like, I guess you'd say fashion sense? Like, I feel like that whenever I see clips and he's in that suit, it's ill-fitting. Like, you definitely have the money to get at least one good suit. And then, like, what is this? What are we wearing? This seems stuffy and uncomfortable. I don't know. Maybe I'm just nitpicking, but it says my favorite part was in the beginning when he said Dave was Jewish. Doesn't matter how many people tell Nick Dave is a Christian. Living the life that you want to see.
Started, and it was about a year ago, so I don't remember it exactly. But the beef started that, of course, the thing that is happening is that everybody's now permitted to talk about Israel and the Jews. And everybody also knows that, and I know the world doesn't revolve around me, but I famously got, like, martyred for that, in a sense. And I'm not being dramatic. I mean, I
that's one aspect of all of this that I'm willing to see a redemption arc for Nick, because he was thrust into this at such a young age when the landscape was already crazy. So obviously, as a 35-year-old man, I can see that he's wilding out. But I think over the next 10 years, there's not necessarily a specific reason that if he wants to, become part of the fray, part of the conversation, and learns a little bit more about why the things that he's saying are not going to aid that, he might be around for a while.
Lost PayPal, YouTube. I mean, they made it so that I could not have a career and I couldn't make money, couldn't have a bank account, was part of.
Link me that.
Of that.
Link me that.
On some level. I mean, that had a lot to do with January 6th, but I mean, being banned from PayPal is a pretty big deal, you know, and the rest of them, Venmo, like I can't get reimbursed if I buy a friend dinner or something like that. And got blacklisted from all the circles, CPAC, all the shows, Republican Party, whatever. And I recognize that it's not only my criticism of his.
Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. This is, wow. Bro, what are you doing? What? Well, we're off a little. Can we? Oh, whatever. Yeah. What are we doing? What are we doing? You look just right off the rack at Walmart. I don't know. And like Dave's not dressed up, right? He's just wearing a sweater and jeans. But like, I don't know. It always jumped out at me, and I'm not somebody who pays attention to fashion like that. So I don't know. Like I always say, as a dude who doesn't really, know anything about makeup and stuff like that, then if I notice that you're wearing makeup, you're wearing too much makeup. Shout out to Super Serious Interviews. Welcome to the party. How'd you right off the rack at Walmart? I mean, fair enough if that's your vibe, but I mean, it doesn't seem like he's doing that on purpose, and he is a front-facing person. Like, it's different if you're just, living your life, but when you're broadcasting, you're putting yourself on camera. Like, I wear this shirt every day, not every day, but every time I'm here because of the branding. It people judge you on that, so I don't know. Just nitpicking.
Can party, whatever.
Welcome to the party.
And I recognize that it's not only my criticism of Israel, but the way that I do it. But of course, that's at the center of it, is that in principle, I'm against Jewish power, influence, the Israel lobby, etc. And I guess the biggest anxiety or insecurity about this, which I've talked about on my show, and we talked about a little bit earlier too, is this idea that now they're going to step in to kind of mediate this conversation. And in other words, they're going to try and draw a big red line that keeps me on the other side of it. And not just me, I would describe, I'll give you a concession because I think you're being fair and you're being honest and I'm being honest. There's a big insecurity. And by insecurity, I don't mean like...
Well, hold on. Wait, I didn't say I was too good for Walmart. I mean, I got the Walmart app on my home screen. My home screen. Oh, come on. It's right there. I mean, I fucks with Walmart, but I'm not necessarily the clothes. And if I did, I just, would want to present myself a little bit nicer on camera. That's all I'm saying.
Honest. There's a big insecurity. And by insecurity, I don't mean like I'm not the prettiest girl at the ball. I mean insecurity in the sense of there is this mass awakening. This is a moment where we can really get these issues into the conversation. And someone like myself is in the Overton window, let's say. And not just that I can have a career, but my ideas can really take off.
And that wasn't the case a few years ago. The landscape has shifted. It's continued to shift. And he definitely was outside of the Overton window. And now he's back in.
And the biggest concern when this was happening, and what it appeared to me to look like, is that you and a few other more elevated Israel critics we're going to kind of slam the door shut behind. They were going to kind of bring you in. And the reason they would bring you in is because you're Jewish, and that's part of it.
Who was bringing me in, you think?
Like you were on Joe Rogan.
But I was on Rogan long before October.
Yeah, like they've been friends from the comedy scene forever. You think Joe Rogan brought him, like, what? Come on, man. What?
Who was bringing me in, you think?
Like you were on Joe Rogan.
But I was on Rogan long before October 7th.
But to talk about this.
Yeah, but I was always talking about this shit on Rogan. I mean, like, look, I mean, I may have not been as focused on it because, this became the thing to be focused on. But all the stuff that I'm talking about and how involved Israel was, I was talking about, before that. Like, Joe's a friend of mine. He's been having me on since 2016. I don't think he had me on because I was Jewish.
No, not.
Well, that's what he wants you to think, Dave. See, there's a cabal. There's blah 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 blah.
Guys, really quick, if you do me a huge favor and hit that like button, it helps out so very, very much. Thank you very much.
That he brought you on like, hey, I need to invite a Jewish person, but it's like, let's be honest, you did the whole circuit. You did Tucker, Candace, Piers. I think you were on Tim Pool.
Oh, yeah.
So am I to understand, Nick, you were also on Tim Pool, that if those people asked you, Nick, to be on their shows, that you wouldn't do it?
You did Tucker, Candace, Piers. I think you were on Tim Pool.
Oh,
Joe,
yeah.
These are all shows I was banned from. And what
You You say you were banned from Timcast as if you were just saying things that were so edgy. No, you went there with Kanye to do a stunt. That's why you're banned.
You were on Tim Pool.
Oh,
Joe,
yeah.
These are all shows
I mean, I didn't say there wasn't. I'm just saying you can't go right back to that if you don't have the receipts.
I was banned from. And what was, you got to look at it from my perspective, maybe to see my state of mind.
Sure.
You know, last year when Candace got kicked out of Daily Wire, her live chat was lit up every day. Bring on Nick, bring on Nick, and she was deliberately ignoring that and didn't want me on. Now, I was banned on YouTube, but I'm also more extreme. Now, the same is true of like Tucker, all the Tim Pool. People have been trying to get me on his book.
No, I've seen it. Yeah.
Right. And so, and why am I not allowed on? Of course, it's my view that I was canceled for this issue. And so to see you go onto the show, you know, people say it's jealousy. Maybe there's a little resentment there too, but it was a big.
Fair enough. Hey, I'll give him that right there. Just to be like, maybe, all right, maybe there's a little bit of resentment. That is a rather mature thing to say in this situation. So points where they are due.
You know, people say it's jealousy. Maybe there's a little resentment there too, but it was a bigger concern that as a Jewish person, and also, by the way, not just that you're Jewish, but as a libertarian, you come at it from a different place. You're a non-interventionist, a Ron Paul guy. And I even have this disagreement with Tucker on some level too. So it's not just you. My big worry is that, is the conversation going to stop at, we need to end all these wars and like the neocons are the problem? Because my critique goes further and it says,
okay, so let's start with the neocons are the problem and then go further once we address that issue. Yeah, right? It's like, maybe you're just a little gooner.
That it actually does have to do with Jewish identity. Jewish identity is so powerful and so potent. Jews refuse to assimilate. They're so powerful. They're so tribalistic. They're loyal to.
Well, wait a minute. If you're saying that the whole culture is controlled by a Jewish cabal, then it is you, sir, who is failing to assimilate. Right? It's their world. You're just living in it. Then you're the one who is going against the grain. And now I'm not saying if that's a good or bad thing, but let's be accurate with what we're talking about.
Refuse to assimilate. They're so powerful. They're so tribalistic. They're loyal to each other. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And that is actually where the Israel loyalty proceeds from. It's this anxiety.
Sure, but like that's a human thing that you're more tribalistic, the concentric circles of what you care about. You're going to care about yourself and your family first, and then your friends and stuff, and then your neighbors, and then your countrymen, and then the world at large. That's how humans work. Super Seer said, who is this dumb guy? I know Dave. He is the guy who used to be a libertarian. Ooh. Why do you say he used to be? So when you say, who is this dumb guy? Are you making a joke about who Dave used to be? Or are you asking about this guy? Shout out to ZBDSLE. Welcome to the party. Said Nick is gay for Zenjus. Yeah, he's the King Groyper, the King Groyper, or the Groyper King, whatever you want to say. Anything that is bringing everything back to the Jews, and specifically the Jews, and not Israel. Then that's what he does. That's what he does.
Where the Israel loyalty proceeds from is this anxiety. We need Israel because what happens if it goes south here? We need to be powerful in America to prevent a majority from rising up against us. And it's kind of that identity issue, which, and you know, that's why I'm open to talking to you or even somebody like a Bill Ackman or a Sean McGuire or a Shapiro and say, I recognize Jews are a part of America. They always have been, and they're some of the finest Americans actually. But
I hate them and they all need to die because I'm Nick Fuentes.
People recognize it cannot go on this way where we have an open society.
What can't go on this way? This is where he loses me. Because I definitely have issues with Israel, the relationship between our country and Israel, Bibi Netanyahu specifically, all of that stuff. But this is where you lose me, where it goes from Israel, the country, and Bibi Netanyahu, the world leader, to like what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Actually, but people recognize it cannot go on this way where we have an open society, but they have this loyalty and kind of play by a different set of rules. And anyway, so my concern is that what it looked like to me is you're being brought onto the shows and they know maybe that you'll never go that far as a Jewish person, or maybe even as a libertarian. And a big
go what far? Go how far? Again, what is it that you mean?
big red line was being drawn and saying, but you are still an anti-Semite. You are still banned on YouTube. You are banned on the shows. Fuck you. You're all the way over here. And that's why I like you and I respect you and I think you're brilliant. And I didn't mean to attack you as a guy, although maybe I crossed the line here and there, but you did become a very central, and you recognize it, influential figure in this big conversation. And I looked at you maybe as...
Thank goodness it was Dave and not Nick. I think that can be verified. But I'm not gonna say it here. Super Serious said, yeah, Dave is a hack. The Libertarian Party rank and file think he sucks. 5 years ago, we liked him, but he became a personality and he doesn't actually understand libertarian ideas. Oh, man. So are you a Chase, what was the guy who ran for the Libertarian Party? Are you one of those? Because I very much prefer Dave's version of libertarianism than the Cato. Is Mises and Cato, or is it Mises and Cato versus Chase Oliver? Whatever it is, I that's too woke for me. I don't like it. That's where you get into stuff like the bring it down to mere libertarian principles. That's where you get stuff like maps. That's where you get stuff like societies, just letting horrible shit happen. Yeah, I agree with King Nirvana. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you, but Super Serious, thank you for being here. We always like a diversity of thought. Zippy said Nick makes his money fallatoing? Fellation. Are you trying to say sucking them off? Fellating. The empowerment of it's crazy. If you apply a bit of reverse psychology, he's making mountains out of molehills. And that is really, essentially where I've seen this. And like, I've been willing to be like, okay, just explain it to me. Explain it to me why it's the Jews and not Israel. And I just don't think it is. Super Serious said, Chase Oliver is gross. We can definitely agree on that. I actively supported the Mises Caucus candidate and hosted a debate for all in Alabama. Well, shout out to you. Shout out to you. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. I'm more of a Mises guy. Now, again, I am not, unlike Dave, I am not very well read on the specifics of, the principles and all these things. It's more of just a general vibe of live and let live. I'm essentially a utilitarian that puts individual liberty on top of that. So whatever is best for society without infringing on individual liberty. That's how I, come on. What are we doing? Oh, we're frozen. There we go.
Recognize an influential figure in this big conversation. And I looked at you maybe as like, whether you intended to or not, as a mediating force or a mitigating force in the conversation. That's where I came at it from.
Okay, so a couple things on that, because there's a lot there that's very interesting. So
all right, here we go. Here we go.
I tell you some information on this, right? So,
guys, again, please, can I get 2 more likes? Just 2 more likes. We got 5 people here and only 2 likes, and there's been other people here. Please, thank you.
With Rogan, like, we're good friends. I've also been on the show a bunch of times. There, about half the time I've been on, he asks me to come on. About the
it's not Israel.
Other half I ask to come on. I asked to come on the first time.
There's one. Let me just get 1 more like, guys. Just double tap the screen. It's so easy.
Talk about Israel. The last time I'd been on, it was all about Ukraine and all about, like whatever else the story of the day was. And he had a couple pro-Israel guys on, and I was just like, hey, Joe, can I come on and like break this shit down? Because I know a lot about this. So I think it'll be an interesting fact. And he had me, and then, so it's just, with Rogan, it's just not true that there was any, with Tucker.
So Super Serious interviews. I'd love for you to point out the things about what he's saying, at least in this conversation, that back up what you're saying. Because I'm not super well read on the specifics of libertarianism. It's more of, I understand the non-aggression principle. I have a moral philosophy that is, like I said, based in utilitarianism, but individual liberty. So, is that supposed to say Jew? I thought it was about his ideas, but Groyper's gonna gripe.
So it's just, with Rogan, it's just not true that there was any with Tucker. Me and Tucker became friends from he reached out to me, got my number from Greg Gutfeld, I believe, and he reached out to me after I had been on and did a thing breaking down the war in Ukraine, and he goes, dude, I think this is the best concise breakdown of the war in Ukraine ever. And then we just started texting regularly, and as soon he never had me on the Fox News show, but as soon as he was off, he wanted to talk. But again, if you go back and look at the Tucker thing, at least back then, like, because this was earlier in the, in the conflict, whatever you want to call it, I was the one who was bringing it up constantly. Like, he was dancing a little bit. Like, I think he was still the thing, like, I don't know if I want to go this close to the sun on this one. Whereas I was like, no, we are driving right to the sun, and that's where we're going. Candace, I mean, like, again, we're getting into, like, what's in people's heads.
What do you guys think about how Candace has been since Charlie Kirk? I feel like she was always a little bit out there, but she was rather grounded in the wild things that she was saying. But I think Charlie Kirk broke her. Super Serious said, no, he is. He's ethnic, but he practices Christianity. I used to be a super fan. I even met him. Cool. But what is the relevance of this? This is what I when it comes to Nick or any of the Groypers or any of this discussion about being a Jew or the Jews, I just don't understand. What is it that the Jews, as opposed to Israel and Bibi Netanyahu, are doing? That's all I want to know. That's all I want to know.
Candace, I mean, like, again, we're getting into, like, what's in people's heads. She had me on Daily Wire, which, listen, whatever beef I will never stop being grateful to Candace Owens for just having me on at the Daily Wire. I just know that means Ben Shapiro is so furious, and I love that so much. I think she did that partially for that reason. But she also, at least what she said was she loved my Ukraine breakdown and wanted to talk more about that. And I think also part of that was, and I'm pretty sure this is right, but I just think she was hearing a lot of this stuff for the first time from me. Like, she had just broken with Israel, and I think she had Norman Finkelstein on, but he had broken down, like, the conflict with the Palestinians and the UN resolutions and stuff like that. But I was the one telling her about the clean break strategy and all this, and it was like new information to her, I believe, and so she was into that. And as far as, like, the other shows, Tim Pool, all the, like, I don't actually think it's correct that I was being brought on because I was Jewish. These were all relationships I had. I think I just wouldn't shut up about this issue. And honest, I don't think Tim Pool's trying to bring me on to talk about this, although.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Equality and Deference because vagina over on Rumble. Welcome. Said liked and shared. Oh my goodness. Thank you so very, very much. Again, guys, that stuff is so easy. It is free to do and helps out the channel so very, very much. It doesn't even matter if you think anybody's going to click on the link. If you just text it to someone, put it in the on Twitter or whatever, just by you telling YouTube, Rumble, or X that you want more people to see the stream, they will show it to more people. Thank you so very, very much. Quality said Dave is the best. Very charitable guy. Kudos to Gossip Girl for having Finkelstein on. Well, I think that was before she broke. Yeah, it seems like we have a little bit of a split. Super Serious interviews saying that he's not really a libertarian. Come on. Oh, there it is. Fabian Liberty would be better at explaining it than I would. He's a better communicator. It would be awesome to see y'all collaborate. Well, hey, as you guys just saw with Rob Noor, when you guys say that we should collab, it does a lot more than me reaching out. So let him know. We got Never Lucky Rubber Ducky in the building. Welcome. Said I made my mom like the video. There you go. Shout out to mom. Shout out. Thank you, guys. It really, really does help. Thank you so very much. Let's dive right back in.
Think it's correct that I was being brought on because I was Jewish. These were all relationships I had. I think I just wouldn't shut up about this issue. And honest, I don't think Tim Pool's trying to bring me on to talk about this, although not that he wouldn't. Right. But also, I would just say personally, which is, again, not the most important thing, but I understand you saying there's a lot of people that closed the door on you, but I'm not that guy. I'm the guy who had you on right after you got kicked off YouTube. And I also think, like, I was, anyway, that was certainly not what I was going to do. No.
Hey, thank you, sir. Thank you. Always looking to have interesting conversations.
As far as the other stuff, which is a more interesting, broader conversation, I guess the counter to this would be that, as we were saying before with the racial, racial hatred and things like that, it's like The other way to look at it is that, yes, I am criticizing Israel. I am criticizing the Israeli lobby, and I am criticizing the most, what I see as the most relevant faction of that, which was the neoconservatives. And I'm also very critical of the people supporting what Israel's doing. But you are correct in the sense that I'm not saying it's the Jews, which does certainly seem to be, you know, like, I mean, racialism is like catnip, man. Like, it's like you saw it during wokeism and you see it during this iteration. I mean,
Woke is woke, left or right. Hey, Robert Ducky said, I liked your Confluence talk. Shout out to a Confluence. Yeah, I had a good time, and I think we could definitely spend some more time on that type of issue. So we are definitely going to do that again.
people love going into that. But if I'm being completely honest, like, I don't think that's healthy for society. I don't wish to cross that line. And let me say it like this. Because I apologize if I'm rambling.
No.
I'll let you speak uninterrupted.
I talk along too. So.
It's your show, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're both long-winded. But so, all right. So Alex Jones, mutual friend of ours. You might be more friendly with him. I did a show once. He was very good to me, which I appreciated. And I don't bring this up to bash Alex Jones at all. I'm just making a point. I keep saying that, but I'm bashing him. Anyway, whatever. Well, I guess I kind of am. But so Alex Jones, as you know, well, had 100,000 conspiracies. I mean, so many of them didn't come true. You know, he gets a lot of credit for it, and some of them did. So to his credit, like some of them did.
They turned the frogs gay.
But I mean, he had theories that were like he was telling people that they were going to depopulate the earth for a while. He said it was all about one world government. He said it was all about I mean, like even as far as him pointing at
Nick's like, yeah, based.
like, which he would constantly point at the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission, and you were like, that's not even where the action is anymore, dude. Like he totally missed the clean break and was over here chasing all this other stuff that had not, and like whatever, you know, people get things
Dave loves that clean break memo.
wrong. It's fine. Now, they used Sandy Hook as the excuse to silence him, right? It was years after the Sandy Hook thing. He had a million conspiracies. But why did they use that one? Why did that one resonate with people? Well, the reason why they used that one, and the reason why even people who like Alex Jones may have like a little bit of a disgust impulse when they hear about that, is because that one was unique to all his other conspiracies. Because every other conspiracy, the bad guys were the ATF. The bad guys were the feds. The bad guys were, you know, like if you blame the ATF for something and you turn out to be wrong, like whatever, they deserve it anyway. It doesn't really matter, right?
Right.
But in this case, the target was people. It was just regular people, and regular people who had just lost their little children. It's like, geez, you can't miss on that one. And so I do think one of the things that concerns me with what you're doing, and I guess concerns me with the fact that I think you're winning in a lot of ways. And I don't, you know, but I do worry about this disaster there, is that I do think so much of the energy you're harnessing does get pointed at just regular people. Like just, you know, until the Jordan Peterson clip, when I first started realizing we were going to have to do this, I had kind of just been like, the reason I was like, I don't think I'll do another podcast with Nick was never because I didn't like you. I always liked you when we talked. I always thought the conversation was really interesting, as this one is.
Again, that's one thing that you can't say, that Nick is not an interesting character. Is he right about a lot of things? I don't think so, but definitely is interesting and entertaining.
The thing was just, it's just like an incentives issue almost. We're like, well, I don't know, everyone on this side is going to lose their goddamn shit, and then I have to answer a million questions about that, but fuck them, so that's not enough to get me to stop doing it. But then half your audience is just going to call me a fucking Jew anyway, and so it's like, what's the point here? And I think...
So that goes back to, you know, what Liberty was saying, like maybe these people that you're banned, maybe they just don't want to talk to you. And for exactly what Dave is saying right now, like it's not worth it. Even if the conversation is good, in terms of a broadcast, in terms of putting something out to the people to better your career, don't really fit. Yeah, Robert Ducky is saying a third of his generation was aborted. That's too much. Canada has open eugenics, but yeah, we're not depopulating. Those are good arguments. But I do, if I remember specifically, again, Alex Jones was not somebody that I followed super closely, but I do remember that he was saying that this was like a specific operation. Don't quote me on that, but you ain't wrong. Nick, Quality agrees. Nick can definitely be funny. That I would never say he wasn't. Zippy is also interesting. Cruises are the best kind of interesting.
What?
That, like, look, and I want to get into this more, but like, yeah, there are questions of Jewish identity. There are questions. Obviously, there's a relationship there. But the fact is that, say, look, the worst thing in my lifetime that Israel's done to the United States of America, I'm not sold on the 9/11 stuff. There's some questions there, but I think it's far from as conclusive. I think people are way out over their skis saying they know for a fact Israel did 9/11, but that's a topic for another day.
I mean,
but it was the war in Iraq. The war in Iraq is no question, and Coleman Hughes can try to argue with me about this, there's just no question that the neoconservatives and the Likud party and the whole Bush administration, this was pushed in a direction. It's not the only factor, but it is more than what made the difference. Like, the war does not happen without the neocons and without Netanyahu. It just doesn't.
And so again, if we're in agreement being, well, let's just say Dave and Nick are in agreement on that place. Before, Nick was saying, well, you're saying that the neocons and the war machine and all of that stuff, but I go a step further. So then, Nick, what you need to do is collab with people who are going to go and take the first step with you. And then you gain credibility so that when you are trying to push the envelope, people are like, all right, well, I mean, he just did this. So, agree with you there. Definitely a curse. Definitely a curse.
Made the difference.
I would much rather have read about the COVID lockdowns in a book than live through them.
It's like the war does not happen without the neocons and without Netanyahu. It just doesn't. And yet at the same time, Jewish Americans were either the best or one of the best groups on that issue. Jews opposed the war in Iraq way ahead of the general public. And like right-wing Christians were like the worst group on that. And so, but again, my target isn't them. My target isn't the people.
Right.
My target is like the people who propagandized them into believing that. And so if the thing is like, hey, I stopped short at like actually naming the Jews, it's like, well, yeah, because I don't think that's right. And I don't like.
I said, shit, me neither. But Nick, I am here to listen. My mind is open. Convince me that I am wrong for listening to Dave Smith and having all these problems with Israel and Bibi and not taking the next step to the Jews. Why am I wrong? Why is that wrong?
Yes, and we can get into more of this, but like, no, like Barry the dentist has nothing to do with any of this.
Exactly.
And he, I think on some level.
I always use, the Jewish deli owner in New York, like that. Exactly. What does he have to do with it? Please, even if I disagree with your argument, give me an argument. What is it about Barry the dentist?
Dentist has nothing to do with any of this. And he, I think on some level, maybe I'm wrong, but I also don't think you're really trying to gin up hatred toward that guy. And so maybe that's why I stopped short of blaming the Jews. I think it's sloppier and not as accurate.
That's a very interesting point. So if Dave is saying, I don't think you're actually trying to go after all of anyone who is Jewish. You are specifically talking about Israel. You are specifically talking about Netanyahu. And then you're muddying your own message by broadening it to the Jews.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I think it's important just on a basic level to say that we don't agree on everything. Like we are distinct and
I said the fucking Christian Zionists are so frustrating for more reasons than one.
That we don't agree on everything. Like we are distinct and I wouldn't even say it's about further or closer. It's just that we are coming at it from different places. You believe it's the neocons and it's in particular the war party and Israel and how those interact. And me as an identitarian, I do look at the world through an identity-based lens.
Like the woke do. And Robert Ducky's saying everybody has been pointing to them, both sides, left and right. And that's the wokeness aspect. If you are specifically saying, I'm going to view all of these geopolitical things through a lens of identity politics, how is that not woke? We can get to whether or not you're right or wrong next, but you can't tell me I'm going to look at this look at the world through an identity-based lens and then talk shit about the woke left. You're just the other side of that coin. They're just painting a target on their back for multiple reasons, and people aren't noticing. Yeah, and I think it's an interesting thing because is today the 7th or was that yesterday? Yeah, yesterday was the 3-year anniversary of 10/7, and since then. Because like if you're newer here, when that happened, geopolitics is just not my area. I'm good at cultural American stuff, but when you get further outside that, I'm just nowhere near an expert. So instead of trying to be like, okay, guys, here's what other people are saying about things, I actually brought in a couple people to talk about it. And at that time, the default position was poor Israel. Israel has the right to defend themselves. And then the last 3 years happen, and a lot of people have completely switched because of the fact that Israel has taken the opportunity of October 7th to go way further than they need to. And then a lot of things about what exactly is going on in Gaza has come to light. And so it's easy. It's easy to when you don't know much, to be like, oh, well, this is a U.S. ally, and this is a group that's run by terrorists. Well, oh, yeah, obviously, terror is bad, right? And it's like, yes, but it's just not that simple. And, Rubber Doggy said, weird take. I honestly just don't care about anything having to do with either Gaza or Israel. Isn't real. I agree. I mean, I only care because of the fact that they are so influential on American politics. But again, this is where it comes back to, okay, Nick, if you are so right about this, then what is the jump from Israel to the Jews? And it sounds like right now he's just saying, oh, there is none. Because people in Israel are Jewish, then I'm just going to look at it that way. That's what it sounds like he's saying in this moment.
Cons, and it's in particular the war party and Israel and how those interact. And me as an identitarian, I do look at the world through an identity-based lens.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. That's how you end up thinking that being on time is racist.
You've got whites, blacks, Jews, and they all have political interests. They all identify as these groups. They group up based on them. And then those groups have conflicting interests. That's what politics has become, is like meeting out those interests. Like, is it in the interest of white people to go to war in Iraq? No. But for Jews, yes, because they have this connection to Israel. And same about all these other things. And so, even getting back to our beef, we could quibble about, I don't think there's some conspiracy. I don't think they got together and said, let's invite Dave because, he's going to maintain censorship and Jewish control. But
I mean, you kind of did just say that.
I don't believe that, but I do believe that you clearly take the more moderate position, or even I would say the more liberal position. As a libertarian, you're like a lowercase L liberal in the sense that you think that it's, like you said, it's not Jews in themselves or Jewish identity in itself. Mm-hmm. It is particular people in power, in particularly the state, that are doing these violent policies.
But that's wrong, Dave, because of this.
It is maybe a more radical rejection of liberalism. And I think that maybe you're informed by your Jewish identity, or you're just ideologically believe that. It is a more moderate position, and they platform that because that's the version they want. That's the version that is safer for a Tim Pool or whoever. That's the version that the system is maybe comfortable with. That's what they might be willing to accept. And they don't want to take it to the place of the Jews for the good reason you described. And by the way,
and so we should, though, even though you gave a good reason that we shouldn't do this, I do this anyway because...
I'll give you another concession because I want to be objective. There are people that are legitimately hating Jews right now.
Yeah,
and
there
are there?
I saw in Florida.
Wait a minute. Nick Fuentes, are you sure? I don't know if you're right about that. I don't know. Are you sure, Nick Fuentes, that there are people being anti-Semitic against Jews?
Come on, man.
Are legitimately hating Jews right now.
Yeah,
and
there are.
I saw in Florida, they're pulling up on Jews with water pistols and spraying them with water. And I got on my show and I
that's
said,
your chatters.
Yeah,
I said,
and I appreciate that.
Yeah, because I don't believe in that. I'm not a piece of shit. If I saw Ben Shapiro on the street, I saw him on the street and I said, hey, man, why did you do a speech? You didn't say my name. I didn't run up and try and fight him.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in attacking.
They made it out like you did.
Yeah, right. Like I attacked his kids or something, human shields, right? But he picked up his kid when he walked across the street. It's like, okay, bro.
Yeah, exactly. You have to have the specifics of it. Otherwise, you just come off as racist or crazy. And that's the vibe that I'm getting, that you're just a racist, bigoted, whatever, against Jews. And racism's not cool. Being all huffy puffy about the tiniest little iteration of racism is also fucking cringe. But that doesn't mean that being racist and being bigoted is a good thing. We just don't need to cry about it when somebody says, "Oh, I like your hair," and you're black or something like that. Two things can be true at the same time.
Human shields, right? But he picked up his kid when he walked across the street. It's like, okay, bro. but I don't believe in picking on random people. I'm not a cruel or hateful guy.
Right. So that's what I'm trying to. What is the pattern then, Nick? Tell me the pattern.
Like, I don't believe in picking on random people. I'm not a cruel or hateful guy. And you do see that. And that video bothered me in particular because if people start to think it's okay to do that, the ADL isn't necessarily wrong about the idea that it is slippery slope. You pull up on somebody with a water pistol. Okay, what if it's a paintball gun next time? Is that really okay? That people are going to be harassed and like shot at with a airsoft gun or a paintball gun? No, that's bullshit. And that's denying basic dignity, basic rights. That's not Christian. That's not American.
Then why is it that people in your community are talking about this in a way that it's not so bad? Maybe it has to do with your rhetoric.
And there is an excess of that. And I agree that it should be sort of contained. But I think there's a fine line between that and saying that it is a bigger issue than the neocons, because, when it comes to these influential Jews, like Larry Ellison, let's say, he's not religious, but he's tight with Netanyahu. Jeffrey Epstein was tight with the left in Israel. And to the extent that you're right, Jews were the biggest critics of the Iraq war, in many cases, there's liberal Jews, but they're liberal because that's a strategy for Jews to succeed. They have these debates. What is best for the Jews? And like Bret Stephens at the New York Times, he mentored Bari Weiss.
Yes. What even is this? I did where was it? I did a short about, I'm sure you guys saw the whole Tylenol thing where Trump was saying, don't take Tylenol if you're pregnant. And then a bunch of pregnant liberals were like, well, I'm going to take it anyway. And so I did a little short about it and essentially was saying that you hate Trump more than you love your own children. Someone commented, you have fallen for a makeup-wearing con artist and his troop of smooth brains. And now you somehow think they believe in science? The science says, with 4 question marks, you love Trump more than the truth. But the truth, unfortunately, doesn't love you back because you don't spend that much time with her anymore. All right, dude. Shout out to Dylan Sue. Welcome to the party.
What is best for the Jews? And like Bret Stephens at the New York Times, he mentored Bari Weiss. He says, Trump,
God, I hate him so much.
And he sucks. He's a neocon. Case in point.
Yeah, I got in a big fight with him on Gutfeld show years ago. He was such a smarmy prick. Anyway, whatever.
Major douche.
Oh God, the worst.
Yeah, but he says in 16 or 17, he goes, Trump is bad for the Jews because he is opposing the liberal values that have been so good to us as Jews. And it's like that sort of encapsulates when, like the ADL, for example, gets criticized. They say, well, the ADL is making Jews look bad, or they're going after people like Shapiro and protecting people like Ilhan Omar. In other words, they're attacking Jewish Zionists, but they're not hard enough on the progressive left. And what I see there is still a distilled Jewish self-interest, which is okay because we're all people and we're all advocating for the most for ourselves. But in America, we just need to do a better job of managing that. And I think that.
Okay, how? Like managing what specifically, and how do you manage that? You have these vague things, but you're not actually giving me anything substantial.
But in America, we just need to do a better job of managing that. And I think that the Jewish community's out of control.
Yeah.
Is basically.
In what ways? Is it the Jewish community or is it the government of Israel?
Yeah.
Well, I would say so in kind of like in a similar sense to because me and you both we've both been accused of getting the call over the last few weeks, which turns out was just us calling each other and being like, I don't think there's any evidence that Israel did it. But like,
yeah, like I said, is Nick making the when the Jews do stuff and don't do stuff, it proves the point argument? Yeah, it's heads I win, tails you lose. That's the irony of the trying to have this position where you can obfuscate reality, you can obfuscate semantics, you can twist facts and just make your predetermined conclusion, and you can make everything fit. That's why dogma is bad. Nick's dogma is that the Jews are the enemy. Whoever, whatever, all of that stuff is going to come back to that. And if he's not willing to question whether or not he is actually believing in that, whether he has reason to believe that, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Shout out to Boss. Welcome to the party, signing up as a new member. Oh my goodness. Thank you so very much. Where's that applause? Hell yeah. Guys, don't forget every donation, everything gets Morty a treat. Let's feed the puppy. And you know what? I'll give you a freebie. Usually, I don't count memberships for the swole goal because then you just, unsubscribe and subscribe every month. But because Box is here, we'll start off the swole goal. So we are 1 out of 15 super chats. Again, any amount counts. 1 out of 15, and we'll call that 3 out of 50. Thank you so very, very much, sir. Of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream.
Turns out it was just us calling each other and being like,
Yeah.
I don't think there's any evidence that Israel did it. But like, so when you come out on your show and you go, look, guys, I'm not seeing any evidence that Israel was behind the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And then people go, oh, it looks like Nick got the call. You're like, okay, but like the much easier answer is that he just doesn't see any evidence that Israel, right? And like people, it's like you're jumping to a conclusion. And I will say, I think you might be guilty of doing a little bit of that too. When you go like, well, look, they want the conversation controlled. It's like, or an easier answer might just be that like they've seen your hits and they go, yeah, well, I don't want to bring a guy who's saying Hitler has aura on the show. Like, I'm open to, I do think what's horrible, what's happening to the Palestinians, but like, no, I don't think we need to go like that. So I think there's like probably, look, dude, you make your bed. You were, nobody I don't think that I know is denying that you were like horrendously mistreated when you were very young. But also since then, like there's an energy that you harness when you do that shit and you know what you're doing with it, And
it's almost like there's a chip on his shoulder and he doesn't understand the notion of like, that old thing of harboring onto anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I think there's an aspect of that. And that's why I say that I think there's a distinct possibility as he gets a little bit more mature, as he gets a little bit further away from that. And then the extreme aspects of the character are not as well received. I think he potentially could mold into somebody who is somewhat legit. Shout out to Adam Cadman in the building. Welcome to the party. Morty right over here. Good to see you. Yeah, I gotta do that too. But I'm just gonna pretend it's not a problem. Buck said, I guess my numbers were hacked or something, so the bank just shut it down twice in 35 days. God damn. You need a new bank. That's what that sounds like. Hey, we got Guan Tech. Welcome to the party. Again, said liked and shared. A reminder, guys, that stuff is free and easy and helps out so very, very much. Again, just by, it doesn't matter if you think anybody's going to click on the link that you share, just by you telling YouTube, Rumble, or X that you want more people to see it, they will show it to more people. Welcome, sir. Very good to see you. And again, a big thank you for the shout out on Rob North's show. I just sent him a DM before the show. I did, the tweet after that. I did a community tab post. And so I just sent him a DM like, hey, I know I've been kind of nipping at your ankles. Like, let's do this. Welcome. Dylan said, it is weird that Candace's face just dived into that narrative. And yet the Jew debater isn't really convinced. Yep. It seemed, well, especially, you're talking specifically about Charlie Kirk, where it's like the Zedul's guy is like, I don't really see anything connecting to Israel. And then Candace is like, no, we've got it. And her proof is, I've just got a weird feeling. Like, what happened if facts don't care about your feelings? What happened to that? All right, I'm back.
Then like there's an energy that you harness when you do that shit and you know what you're doing with it, and that's not to say you're being disingenuous. I don't mean that at all. I just mean like you understand kind of like harnessing this radical energy of like, nah, dude, I'm staking out this position all the way over here, but it's a double-edged sword. And that also sometimes can turn a lot of people off. Although, look, you're moving the needle in a clear way. And so that is becoming more and more acceptable. I guess my point is that I don't know actually that it's possible to do that without having the excesses of, the water gun thing, or perhaps much worse. I mean, look, as we've both figured out, man, I hate saying this out loud because it's against our interests, but a lot of people are kind of dumb, man. And a lot of people like can't really follow the nuance of all of that stuff. Yep. But to the broader, like kind of Jewish.
Well, remember the old George Carlin bit. You're like, think about how stupid the average person is. And then realize that 50% of the population is even dumber than that. That's math. The math is mathin'.
Like, can't really follow the nuance of all of that stuff. But to the broader, like, kind of Jewish conversation. I mean, look, I'm not saying it's like strictly the neocons, or I wouldn't even say that, like, obviously the neocons, the majority of whom were Jewish, it's not just like, I'm not claiming like, oh, they just happen to be Jewish. Like their Jewish identity obviously plays a central role in why, they feel the way they do. And there's no question that Jews, I think, and this is something I've, spent a lot of time speaking out against because I just think it's really...
Against Jews? What?
What?
That's anti-Semitic.
How dare you?
Shout out to Goff's Hammer over on Rumble. Welcome to the party again. And liked and shared. Thank you so very, very much, guys. I am doing my best with all this, but I do need your help. And again, that stuff is free and easy, just like putting a comment after the stream is done in the actual comment section. A little thing that definitely helps a lot. Welcome. Yes. Quality shout out to George Carlin.
And this is something I've, spent a lot of time speaking out against because I just think it's really, there's a sickness in Jewish culture that I think is unhealthy. I think it's part of it is fundamentally built into the religion that like it's about past suffering, is like a big part of it. But the Holocaust looms so large in particularly like my parents' generation and up. I think not as
I don't know. He wasn't here last time either. We might be in another Nick drought.
Much with the younger generation, but it looms so large, and there is this kind of like feeling of like, look, the Holocaust happened, and then we created our own state so that it never happens again. And anything short of that means another Holocaust happening, and it's just.
And of course, that means I might need another wrench.
It's not right. Like it just doesn't make any sense. There's no reason to. And I've been saying this for years. I'm like, look, like I'm a Jewish American. I've never had one obstacle put in my way because of my Jewishness. Like never once. I've had people say literally. Your fan saying shit on Twitter is the greatest struggle of my life for being Jewish. I've had greater struggles, but not because I was Jewish. And I think what's appropriate when even if the story is like, oh my God, your grandparents were so horribly mistreated in Europe, and then you came to America, and now Jews are 2% of the population. They're overwhelmingly successful. I think the attitude should be like, well, we're really grateful to America. We really love this country, and we should have nothing but loyalty to it.
Yeah, again, I completely agree with that. And there's a justified frustration, if not anger, to say, well, what is this shit? But it's not about the Jews, it's about Israel. I think the last IQ test I took lied to me. I don't feel as smart as it suggested. High school equivalent is my highest academic achievement other than my purple belt. Don't be surprised, man. Don't be surprised. People are really fucking dumb.
Stupid.
It is what it is.
Be like, well, we're really grateful to America. We really love this country, and we should have nothing but loyalty to it. So like I'm against the fact there is something like that in Jewish culture. But then again, I think it's only reinforced by people, like when they see people who they perceive as being like neo-Nazis, to be like, see, that's proof. That's proof that in fact there is this huge threat. And
you let us over here, and then we're trying to have a good time, just eat a little bagel with some shmee, and then there's a white supremacist over there. You want me to be happy for that?
I think in some way, it seems to me like it's almost in some ways, you and the Zionists have accepted a fundamental framework that I think a lot of the rest of us are trying to like push back on, which is that like to oppose Israel isn't to oppose Jewish people, and that's kind of stupid. This is an actual government. Now, also, I should add, like all these things are complicated and intertwined. There is no question that part of the reason why Israel has become so dominant, like say the Mossad has become so dominant, is because there was a diaspora. It was an advantage that almost no other intelligence agency had, that you had pockets of people who you could reach out and touch, who could at least somewhat reliably, if they were called to do something for Israel, would take that as like, okay, I'm, in some way preventing another Holocaust. Like that was a huge advantage for them. And so like, again, I'm not saying like there's more complex and interesting questions. I guess, again, I'm not trying to like big brother you or anything on this.
Yeah.
I guess it's just like
you should.
Even that message that you were just sending of like, hey, we're not trying to target, people. I think like
that would really help your credibility.
If you are to win the day on this, and we want to avoid something really bad happening that, I think none of us want to see, I think stressing that is probably important. And also, it's just like you see it. I mean, I know because you talk about it, like the low IQ slop shit, where it's just kind of like, dude, this is
brain rot.
Okay, I know forever you weren't allowed to touch that button, and so you're touching the button because you weren't allowed to. But a stupid point is like you're allowed to touch it now.
Yes,
and it's just not that impressive. It's kind of like a silly argument. Although I will admit it's quite funny.
Well, yeah, I mean.
And I feel the same way about, again, when people talk about or people just want to scream the N-word and stuff like that. It's like, okay, I definitely agree that you shouldn't, have to lose your job, and especially if you're just singing along to a song in your car and somebody's like all that. The cancel culture stuff is stupid. But also, if you're just getting off on saying the N-word, oh, I'm so cool because I said the N-word, I said retard, I said faggot, like, it's kind of cringe. I've said, fuck the IQ test, just use the magic 8-ball. There you go. There you go. Shout out to the magic 8-ball.
It's kind of like a silly argument, although I will admit it's quite funny at times.
Well, yeah, I mean, the edge.
Yeah, I don't know if they're all BS. I think they measure what they're supposed to measure. So, like, if we all take the same test and I score higher than you do, or you score higher than I do, then we can say that there's a level of significant difference. But we might take a different test that is slightly different, and we would, because it's a different test, then we test differently. So, for example, if we were going to take a test about, I don't know, liberal policies or something, you would probably do a lot better on that than I would. What if we were doing something about, what it's like to be a MAGA atheist? I know that's not how IQ tests work, but my point is, I don't think it's all BS, but because of the fact that it's not an objective standard, then it's just, you have to measure it against its own test.
It's kind of like a silly argument, although I will admit it's quite funny at times.
Well, yeah, I mean, the edgelording, even for me, has lost its appeal. It just seems passé because 10 years ago, you couldn't say that stuff, and that's what made it provocative.
Yeah.
And now you can't say it. So, and also, it's been done for 10 years. So, internet edgelord, oh, you've never met someone like me before. It's like, we've all seen that. But I would say that here's how I would characterize the issue, because I hear that a lot, that the Zionists and the anti-Semites are sort of in the self-reinforcing loop. And I would say that how I would characterize the problem is that, in some sense, the Jews are rational. The neocons are rational, because what they're saying is there's kind of two answers to the Jewish question from the Jews, which is we need to return to the land, because only when we have another Jewish kingdom will we have sovereignty and be able to protect ourselves. There's another answer to the Jewish question.
What happened to the Iron Dome?
Which is, if we push liberal universalism, everyone will tolerate us. If we push religious tolerance and racial tolerance,
right,
then people see us as themselves or the greatest among the nations. These are two strategies, and they're both rational, because by the way, there was anti-Semitism in Nazi Germany. Maybe that's.
Are you sure?
I got the call to say that, but it's true. The way things are.
Is that a controversial thing?
Might be. I don't know.
Not even the Holocaust, just anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
They weren't so fond of them. That's for sure. Yeah.
But it's like in Germany, but also in Russia, but also in America. There are quotas in the universities. Emerging from that time, it is, like we said,
Morgoth said, what's an edgelord? Just someone who tries to be edgy. Like, I'm just going to say, oh, like he was saying, yo, you've never met somebody like me before. I'm going to say the things that nobody else is going to say. That is an edgelord.
Hey, the world's made up of races. They have these interests. It's in the Jewish interest to do these things. So Soros takes up the cause of the Open Society Foundation. And open society is based on this philosophical premise, I think, from Bertrand Russell, which says we have tolerance and openness and egalitarianism. And the Likud party, or, the Haganah, the security element in Israel, they work to get power. And they say that to make the world safe for the Jews, we need Israel. To make Israel safe, we need control over everything west of the river. To do that, we need to destroy all our enemies in the region. Like, there is a rational chain of law. When they say Israel has a right to exist, they mean we can't exist if we're staring down the barrel of 10 countries that hate us.
I agree that is rational. I just don't think that's my fucking problem as an American.
There's a logic there. And I would say that in some sense, that's a legitimate way to think. It's a legitimate interest. But I distinguish myself as a white person, as someone from Christendom, as an American. And I'm looking to disentangle the Jewish interest from the American interest and say that, when you say it's bad to say Hitler had aura, I disagree. I'm
not saying necessarily it's bad.
Bro, like, that's not the hill you want to die on. That's just not the hill you want to die on. Adam said an edgelord is the mastery of edging during the old in and out.
Haram!
Yuck.
Say Hitler had aura. I disagree. I'm
not saying necessarily it's bad to say that. I'm saying that you understand that, like, that is going to be something that might make a lot of people go, oh yeah, I don't want to deal with that guy.
But here's where I would push back.
Like me.
Back in a sense is, as a white person, like,
I hate wokeness so much. I hate wokeness.
This is a white guy. I'm familiar with his.
I'm not a white guy, and I'm also familiar with his racism. What does your skin color have to do with observing these ideas? I don't get it. Why are these things relevant?
Push back in a sense is,
As
as
a
a white
white
person,
man.
like why is it that the Holocaust is so toxic? It's because Jews sort of made it that way. Like, we don't look at the Holodomor the same way. We don't look.
I would argue Hitler made it that way, but whatever.
Jews sort of made it that way. Like, we don't look at the Holodomor the same way. We don't look at China, and all these arguments.
I think that's a totally legitimate argument. It's something I've been saying for years too. I think that the idea that Jews have a monopoly on World War II is like insane, and
Right.
or that anybody should.
But doesn't it also make sense, and maybe more sense, that because it was the sequel to The Great War, and it was so egregious that it's just easier to get people to understand fascism and genocide and things like that through the Holocaust, and that is why we talk about that conflict more than any others. And especially now, like, okay, I get the point that you're making. Well, how can we talk so much about Hitler when we don't talk about this, that, and that? Okay, fair. But in 2025, we already are in the world where everybody knows Hitler and the Holocaust. So what do you want to do? Are you trying to talk about, like, what is it that you are accomplishing by using a message different than the Holocaust, if you agree that was a bad thing? I don't get it. Bucks, I heard these arguments from a pretty young age, but he got banned all over for just saying out loud. Yep. Never Lucky Rubber Ducky said, I think his point of the rhetoric behind it, because at the time, most of the press was Jewish owned, especially the big ones in New York, etc. I guess, but I feel like there's still a gap there, and again, I'm willing to take that leap. You just gotta bridge the gap for me. Shout out to Stephen Paltu. Welcome. Said Nick is that bad. Genuinely, he is that bad. I kind of agree. I'm trying to give him a chance. I'm trying to see, because I have many issues with Israel and Bibi Netanyahu and Trump, for that matter, when it comes to that stuff. So I want to be on the side of saying this is bad. But I don't get how we go from Israel and Bibi Netanyahu to the Jews. And so I'm just here trying to listen. Does he have an argument? Or is it just more woke bullshit?
World War II is like insane, and
Right.
or that anybody should like prioritize past Jewish suffering over other sufferings. I mean, like, yeah, it's a horrible thing happened, but so
wait,
so,
can I just
yeah,
finish real quick?
sure, go ahead.
So, when I say Hitler had aura, I'm trying to basically set a new paradigm where, it's like, as Americans and moreover as white people, it's like that doesn't have the same impact on us emotionally. Not necessarily. We only feel like that way because of movies.
Wait, what doesn't have the same impact?
It's like, as Americans and moreover as white people, it's like that doesn't have the same impact on us emotionally.
You didn't say what that is.
Not necessarily. We only feel like that way because of movies, because of museums, because of propagandizing. And, so.
And again, I don't disagree, but does it have more to do with, we need everybody to think this about the Jews? Or is it just, hey, if I make a movie or a show or a book or a thing about Hitler, it's gonna pop off because people like that shit. So yeah, anybody who is older than 20 and not on TikTok, aura is basically just saying, like, when he says, well, this is gonna get clipped, so I'll say Bucks has aura. That just essentially means, like, he's a cool dude. He's got a good vibe. That's some more Gen Z slang. Another dog. I don't know about aura. Oh, that's a good one. Dilly. Yeah, exactly. Aura is the new vibe. Steven said, when I only saw random clips of him on TikTok, I thought he was okay-ish. But the more context, it gets so much worse. As a Catholic myself, I don't want Catholics following him. And I'm a non-believer, but I definitely think that Christianity has a great role in our society, at least for the time being. And I completely agree with you. Adam said, I just want to say Nick does not speak for humans. Yup. A shout out to equality and deference because vagina with the $10. My goodness. Thank you. So very much. Let's get Morty's treat first. And then I forgot to read it last time, but I won't. Of course, again, guys, every donation comes with a treat for Morty. That's 2 out of 15 and $13 out of $50 to hit the goal, guys. Let's make it happen. What is equality saying? Anyone else notice the all-time record highs gold and silver are hitting? Important for future financial well-being. Well, hey, I have more crypto than I do gold and silver, but I think I might want to make a change on that. So I have not looked. So thank you for the notice. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so very much. All right, let's dive back in. Thank you again. Equality
of movies, because of museums, because of propagandizing. And so when I look at like Larry Fink, Bill Ackman, David and Larry Ellison,
2 out of 15.
I look at them as part of a corporate entity. Like they're not individuals that happen to be Jewish. They are the Jews. They're organized. They work together. And as an American, I basically want to take power from them and give it back to Americans. And that necessarily is going to make them weaker and more vulnerable as a community. And, so when they say that's anti-Semitic, it's like, of course, everything that's taking power from them to give it to us is going to inherently like bolster the narrative that they're becoming more vulnerable, but it's a necessary part of getting power.
Yeah, and I kind of get what you say. Like I used to say it like, I used to say that as long as you if you translate the words right, that like Hillary Clinton is telling the truth, yes. Like in a sense.
Shout out again to equality and deference. Thank you so very much. Morgoth's Hammer said, blast all these confounded vocabulations. Yep. Language changes organically. The problem is when we get into semantic obfuscation, changing the meaning of words to fit your political goal. You can get your own phone case or a button or a notebook in this or any of the designs over at TheIndianJesus.com. Get your official merch.
It's like when you go they'd be like Hezbollah is a threat. And the truth is that Hezbollah is a threat to Israel's ability to occupy southern Lebanon.
Right.
Now, they leave that part out of it, or if they say like Iran is a threat, it's a threat to the American empire. Like it's a threat to, yes, this is it. So in that sense, like when Hillary Clinton had the famous one where she said, I think it was that Vladimir Putin has put his troops right up on NATO's doorstep.
Yeah.
And then it just shows you like the mentality, but like she's not lying in a way, right?
And same thing when they were talking about a threat to our democracy. When they're not lying, they're just obfuscating what they mean. They say when they say Trump is a threat to our democracy, they don't mean that Trump is a threat to the democratic aspects of our nation. What they mean is our democracy, that we have this stranglehold on. So they ain't lying; they just lying.
Yeah. And then it just shows you like the mentality, but like she's not lying in a way, right? So I would say this is how I look at it. I think that in the same sense that right-wing Christians in America were convinced that it was in their interest to go overthrow Saddam Hussein because, he was going to give the nukes he didn't have off to the terrorists who weren't friends with him or whatever the line exactly was. I think a very similar dynamics going on with Jews and Israelis. I think that there really, if you look at the position Israel was in, say 3 years and a day ago, they have by far the most sophisticated, most advanced military in the Middle East. They have the support of all the most powerful governments in the world. They have
clearly
a bunch of atomic weapons. They have they're in a pretty good. They have now engendered so much hatred around the world that they're probably in the most vulnerable spot they've ever been. They've done it to themselves. So I think in a very similar sense, it's really actually not in Jewish interest, and I think that's kind of bearing out right now across the culture. Like this was terrible. This is the worst thing you could do if you cared about like protecting Jews or not stoking up hatred.
Yeah, I forget exactly what it was that I was watching, but there was, they were talking about a PBD Netanyahu interview where they were asking how are you going to help change the optics and all of this? And he's like, well, we're just going to pay a bunch of influencers to just say what we want them to say. It's like, sounds about right.
Against them. And so I look at it more like even when you're these guys like Bill Ackman or George Soros or people like that. But yeah, you're pointing to people who are in the club. I mean, George Soros is essentially a wing of the CIA. I was literally just the other day, because I was looking up when I was doing an episode on General Wesley Clark in response to the latest hit piece on me from the Free Press today, or preceding it, I guess. And I was like, I gotta like look up Sudan. You know, like that's the one country on this list that I just haven't read enough about. Like I've read a little bit about it, but not nearly enough. Like though, which is for people like me and you who read books, which by the way does put you in the top 1% of political commentators already.
No
but
joke.
the thing is, you're just always behind. You know, like there's just always 10 books you're supposed to read that you haven't read yet.
And that's a thing that like stops me from being more well read. That's just like, well, where do I start? But at the end of the day, it's like just fucking pick up a book and read it. Or the audio book. Just put it on and play and start somewhere. Start anywhere. And then you can go from there. I definitely need to take my own advice there. Buck said, Israel will lose. That is my prediction. Quote me now. And then since he said so, I will screenshot and add it to the list of predictions. And we will see. Robert Ducky said, if we have to help Israel, I just hope America can take over power in terms of the government, etc. Then we can use it as a base and push Islam out of Europe. Bingo. I mean, yeah, again, the, when Nick was talking about there's a rationale there, he's definitely not wrong about that. It's just a matter of whose goals do those things align with. And Box, the same reason I root for Israel is the same reason they will lose. There's one Jewish state and like 22 Arab states. On numbers alone, it's over for them, even if they just use their nooks. What? But again, this is, and tell me if you guys disagree, but I think this is still the wrong way to look at this. This is still putting this in a oppressor versus oppressed paradigm, when it's like, okay, they're not necessarily in the best position when it comes to the numbers like this, but the reason that they're getting attacked so much is because they're using things like American influence to go fucking poke the bear. Yeah, right. I mean, it's embarrassing that I haven't read that. It's embarrassing. I know.
It's always behind. You know, like there's just always 10 books you're supposed to read that you haven't read yet. And you're like, God damn it, you're so aware of what you don't know, you know? And then someone
I mean, certainly not while you're fucking bombing them.
To read that you haven't read yet. And you're like, God damn it, you're so aware of what you don't know, you know? And then someone who knows absolutely nothing is like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're like, I know I don't know what I'm talking about. I know, but you know nothing of what you're talking about. But anyway, so I was like, I literally just Googled it. I was like, so what? I know that they broke off, like, and I didn't even know who was involved in it. I know the southern part of Sudan broke off and there was a civil war. There's like, let me have something like southern. So I just like literally Google Sudan secession, civil war, something like that. And like the first thing Google gives me is like the George Soros Open Society, why Southern Sudan needs their independence. And you're like, oh, okay, here we go. But if you really, when you look at it, right, and this is true in the Israel lobby itself, it's not all Jews. It is overwhelming large amount of Jews. And like,
I've not read Fahrenheit 451. I did read Animal Farm in school, but it was just school, so I just read it well enough to, be able to do the essays and the tests and stuff. It's really frustrating, but before maybe middle school, but definitely before high school, like I love to read, and fiction, nonfiction. Like now, I cannot read fiction. I love movies and TV, but I cannot read fiction. But I really do enjoy listening to or reading nonfiction. And there you go, Adam. There you go. And so yeah, I don't remember as well because that's what I was saying. I used to love to read, and then we got assigned all of these books that just weren't that engaging, or the way they were being taught wasn't engaging, or I don't know what it is, but it just killed my love for reading and it became a chore. And then I graduated college, and I don't know if I've actually picked up a physical book since then. Not good. Not good. Rachel Wilson's book, I'll pass on that one. I'll put that further down the list. Box said, I like Animal Farm more than 1984, and I've read both many times. I feel like Animal Farm is closer to real life, even though they use animals as metaphors. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't fully... oh, that's right. That's what I was thinking Lord of the Flies when I was thinking Animal Farm. But yeah, both of those I read in school. But again, I definitely should revisit them because to actually understand them now that I'm an adult and I understand what the metaphors are for, I would definitely get a lot more of it. Well, you should still do a 1984 read and review on your channel. Way better than Animal Farm. Oh, all right. Well, I guess we got to put it to a poll. Would you guys be down? I am definitely down to sit here and just read the book or listen to the audiobook. If you guys would want to see me reacting to what's going on, I would definitely be down to do that. But I don't know if that would be interesting. But we'll see. Yeah, like a book club. I'm down. If you remember on Discord, you can access audiobooks for both 1984 and Animal Farm. There you go. Oh, did I not pin the link? God damn it. I forgot to pin the link. So I will do so right now. It is free to join, guys. It is absolutely free to join. And in case you don't know what we're talking about, let's just take a little break and do this. If you guys are enjoying the show, the party rages on 24/7 over in our Discord. The link is pinned to the top of the chat and is absolutely free to join 24/7. We're in there hanging out, having a great time. And guys, it is absolutely free. However, if you are a member of this channel here on YouTube, you can scroll right below that video and hit that join button. Starts at $2.99. There's a few different tiers, but $2.99 will get you in. It gets you members only live streams here on YouTube, all that other good stuff. But it opens up the full Discord server. So we've got the free chat that is open to anyone. Anybody can join and talk. But as you can see, that is just one of our channels. There's a bunch of different channels here, including our disciple chat for members only, our word of the day watch party, where we're talking about all this stuff. And of course, we have the voice channel here, where we are hanging out at this moment in the after party. Shout out to everybody in the Discord server. Say hello and tell them to come and join.
Hello, come and join.
There you go, guys. Simple as that. See you there. And of course, remember, guys, that after party is for members only. However, if you click that free link at the top of the chat before the stream is over, then you get a day pass and you can come hang out and see what is good. And if you like it, you can stay. If you don't, then no love lost.
It's not all Jews. It is overwhelming large amount of Jews, and like the neoconservatives were like 80% Jewish. I think that there were Catholics and even some Protestants in there. But even the neoconservatives, right? Like they were essentially all of George W. Bush's men. He had Jews all throughout his administration. They were all neoconservatives. But like the boss was George W. Bush. Dick Cheney, I think, really was the boss. Rumsfeld, Condi Rice, Colin Powell. These are all non-Jews. It seems much more to me that there's a big club. There's a lot of Jews in there, and there's non-Jews in there as well, and that they are screwing everybody over. And it just seems to me to be more accurate and precise, and not carry any of the baggage that makes people think like you just are animated by racial hatred. And it's just more precise to just be like, no, it's these guys, it's this network of people. And even when you're looking at like, something like it's difficult, and we are all guilty of this at some point, of like assuming the conclusion, of starting the argument with the end result that we have. So even when you look,
you mean like it's yeah, I would say so. Shout out to DJ Isolated. Welcome to the party. Said Mikey No More made a dope documentary about Nick Fuentes. It's almost 3 hours. Well, if he gives me a reason to want to dig further, then I am happy to cover that. But he went on PBD. And like, okay, but like I said, that felt like PBD wanted to get in with Nick because he doesn't know what's going to happen in the next 10, 15 years. And that is, it wasn't about, let's explore Nick Fuentes. It was more about like, all right, let me get in. Where here, I trust Dave a little bit more to push back, as we're seeing. And again, I just need a reason. I need a reason to think about or to want to look further.
Some point of like assuming the conclusion of starting the argument with the end result that we have. So even when you look at like, okay, well, this Jew is pursuing this strategy or this one is pursuing this strategy, the overwhelming majority of Jews are pursuing the same strategy that most people are pursuing, which is like, I want to raise my kids. I want to have decent health care. I want to have a decent life. I want to hang out with my buddy. I don't think they're pursuing these grand political strategies. I mean, no.
So Block says Jews are living up to the stereotype right now. How do you mean? What do you mean by that? DJ Isolated said Nick has betrayed every single person that has gotten close to him. He's a snake. And yeah, I mean, there's a litany of reasons why people don't like him. And specifically talking about other content creators, other influencers, or whatever the fuck you want to say. And it's not just that, oh, I'm an edgelord. It's not that, oh, you can't take my ideas. It's that you're a shitty person. And I was saying earlier, like, okay, I can understand that when you're thrust into the limelight, especially the political limelight at the age that you did. Okay, I could see you having a chip on your shoulder, but you got to get over that. You got to move beyond, well, Ben Shapiro tweeted me when I was 14 and it gave me a bunch of hate. Okay, that sucks, man. But now what? Are you still 14? Then what are we doing?
Life, want to hang out with my buddy. I don't think they're pursuing these grand.
Well, before we get back into it, Rubber Ducky asks, what is your stance on Israel and Zedges? So, like, I think it's very clear that Israel is taking advantage of the goodwill that they have with America, and they are trying to just grab whatever it is that they can. I don't see any reason to think that they actually want to end a war. There's just money in doing war, and it's not like Bibi Netanyahu is on the front lines or anything. But I do not see the connection between all of that, the state of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, the Israeli government, and the American government, and Zedges. That's all I'm looking for. Give me the connection as to why it makes sense to hate Israel because of all those things, and then also Barry the dentist in New York. Why? That's all I want to know. Like I said, they control everything. They use money for influence. They have a supremacy issue. There's more. This is more geared at Zionism, not really Jews in general. Bingo. I was going to bring this up earlier, that if he was talking about Zionism and Zionists, then it would make a lot more sense to me, because that's a political and philosophical position. But as Box is saying, that's not, they essentially use those words interchangeably. And I don't think that's smart. I don't think that's accurate. And as we've been talking about, it just muddies their message. The other side find it useful to have a wildly toxic pundit. Imagine being able to build the pretense to cancel them by mere association to such a figure. Who you're talking about? Say a little more on this. What exactly do you mean? What and how would somebody change your mind? On like the Jews aspect of it specifically, or Israel in general? Because if somebody can just show me a connection that it's not just a geopolitical thing, it specifically has to do with the Jewish people, and as Brox brought out, I'm talking about the state of Israel. Then is the notion of Zionism, which again is a political philosophy. But being Jewish is like not like a separate thing. It is a separate thing. As we can see, Ramtez Swift, he is a Jew and not a Zionist. I don't know what you're asking. So I think Zionism being is an ideology because it pushes for Israel to exist, and from the river to the sea. Is that what you're asking? I'm not really sure.
Have decent health care. I want to have a decent life. I want to hang out with my buddy. I don't think they're pursuing these grand political strategies. I mean, no more so than anybody is, who just like they have their disposition to like, I'm liberal or I'm conservative or I'm this. Certainly I would grant that Jews are probably less likely to go down a path of Jew hatred for obvious reasons. But I just don't. I think that it's much more like there are these group of powerful people. They are, by the way, the entire machinery I think is actually I don't know if I want to say it's more based on business than ideology.
I don't really know the connection between socialism and Marx and Israel to begin with. So I don't know. I don't know enough to know enough.
But business is like a huge factor in all of this, right? Like, it's not as if the Zionists weren't able to gain so much control of the American.
We'd more likely be blowing them the fuck up.
The Zionists weren't able to gain so much control of the American military machine because.
Okay, so Karl Marx was Jewish, and then, like, that's what I'm saying. Make the connection. Make the connection. You seem to have a connection in your mind. I don't understand what that is. I need it articulated to me so that I can also understand it. And if you're right, then hey, you're right. I like the truth, but I don't understand what it is. What is the significance of Karl Marx being Jewish and us talking about Zionism and the state of Israel and socialism? You can see the ideologies inside of those ideologies are still being pushed today. Okay, how so?
Because
explain it to me like I'm 5.
Simply they tricked everybody or something. It's because it was good for business. You know, and you can watch this. I mean, they went, all the neocons went and they made their independent relationships with the military industrial complex. Look at all those Bill Kristol think tanks, and you know, who's funding that think tank? Oh, look at that, Lockheed Martin. Ain't that a coincidence? Right. And so in the same way that, you know, like there are, say, thinkers like John Rawls or John Maynard Keynes, who are like beloved figures in Washington. But it's not because any of them read the books or care about the argument. It's just that they prescribed more power for Washington, D.C. And so Washington, D.C. is like, you made an excellent point. You know, it's like, it's not like anyone there was like, they were reading Hayek or something and then reading, you know, Rawls and going, this guy's arguments are superior. It's just good for business, man. Yeah. That's a big part of it, at least.
Well,
okay, so we're going back to Karl Marx was Jewish. You can see the ideologies inside of these ideologies still being pushed today. The Weimar Republic and people becoming so poor they had to sell their bodies, and sex institutes that led to Troon ideology. I don't know what that means. The books they burned do matter. Okay, I'm with you. I understand all of those things that you told me. What does that again, bridge all of those things to Jewish people today? Like, my neighbor is Jewish, not the one that you've seen. I get a different neighbor. What is Karl Marx being Jewish and socialism being bad and ideologies within ideologies being pushed today? What is the connection to why then I should say, oh, it's the Jews? That's all I need to understand. DJ Isolated said, a self-hating Jew, perhaps. A cursory look into Marx's work reveals he hated the Jews. Well, I mean, so yeah, then I have no idea. Like, I see a bunch of different things. I don't see the connection. I would love if somebody could draw the connection. This is connected to that because that does this and then this does that. So when this happens, then that happens. Tell me the story of what is going on. Shout out to Matthew King, said maybe Marx was just an asshole. I think we can definitely agree on that. Morgoth's Hammer said dilly to box. Judaism and Zionism are two very different things. It said Weimar stuff was the Weimar stuff was a result of war. The Treaty of Versailles, hyperinflation, not the Jews. That's, I mean, though the Jews may have had something to do with it. That's kind of where I am. That's kind of where I am. It's like, and yes, this is the typical public school education that, you know, the Treaty of Versailles was so bad that Germany then was in such a position where somebody like Hitler could come to power. And so if that's wrong, again, I'm willing to accept that that is wrong. I just need the story being told. Tell me the story of what happened that's different than the story that I know. I don't know why nobody can do that.
His arguments are superior. It's just good for business, man. But that's a big part of it, at least.
Well, I don't disagree at all, because that's sort of the nature of institutions. They're self-perpetuating. You know, they'll prescribe themselves bigger budgets and more missions and things. So I totally agree with that. That's the professional managerial class, what they do.
Right.
But where I would push back is saying that, you know, let's say, for example, like Larry Ellison. Larry Ellison is the second richest guy in the world. They're buying the media. Him and his son are buying TikTok. They're buying CBS. Who does he put in charge of CBS? Barry Weiss.
Matthew's saying, I thought Zionist meant you believe in the states of Israel, or is it an ideology based on Israeli supremacy? I think there is I think it's fair to say that there's a spectrum, that you can be a Zionist, and that just means that you believe that Israel has the right to exist, or you can be a Zionist and thinking that Israel should have the right to exist because the Jews are better and chosen people and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so yeah, is that accurate what I said? Again, not my area of expertise.
TikTok, they're buying CBS. Who does he put in charge of CBS? Bari Weiss. Bari Weiss was held by Hazony and Brett Stevens. It's like, that very clearly is a Jewish club. And they're cutting through society. And yeah, they run in other elite circles. And yeah, they have their accomplices that are not Jewish. Even, look at the Trump administration. Trump brokered that deal. He's a Gentile, but he got money from Miriam Nielsen. His grandchildren are Jewish because his son-in-law is Jewish.
And that matters because, like, again, I see all the connections. Oh, the Jews are here. Jews are there. Jews are doing this. Jews are doing that. It's just Israel doing. What is the specific connection? Just tell me the thing. It's not just Israel. It's the Jews because I don't know why nobody can just say that.
It's like, it's almost like that exception doesn't prove the rule. And you're right about the Vulcans, Condi and Bush and all them. They're Gentiles too. But it's like, it seems that society is always being pushed by this organized minority. Because you're right, there are Rawlsian liberals that are white, and there are, evangelical Christians that are white that are neocons. But it just seems like the Jews because by definition, they're organized in a way that nobody else is. Like Bush is not organized as a white guy or even very much as a Christian, but you do have like a World Zionist Congress. You do have a World Jewish Congress. You have the, Conference of Major American Jewish Organizations. I don't even think people realize the extent to which Jews are organized in community centers by Chabad, in university with their fraternities, and in business, and in their localities. It's like they're extremely organized. And as far as
what do you mean by this? What's the rhetoric? And what's that stuff? Because we're just talking about a bunch of different things.
The average Jew is concerned, yeah, they're not running the banks. I don't think your average Jew is like a spy, but I do think that your average Jew is inherently distrusting of like patriotism and nationalism. It's like Sarah Silverman said when she saw her white boyfriend put a American flagpole on her lawn, she said it reminded her of Hitler.
Yeah, and that's because she's Jewish, not because she's a liberal woman in 2025.
What?
Like, what are we talking about, man? What are we talking about? You're surprised that a white liberal woman in LA sees the American flag and thinks negative things. What does it have to... Yes, she happens to be Jewish, but how many millions of other liberal women feel exactly the same way that are not Jewish? What is the through line? We're just throwing shit at the wall, and sometimes there's a Jew connection, so we say it's the Jews! But nobody can actually fucking pin down what exactly it is. It's not just Israel, it's the Jews because... Finish that sentence. Nick, please finish that sentence.
Her white boyfriend put a American flagpole on her lawn. She said it reminded her of Hitler. How many Jews is that attitude prevalent? When they saw Trump, they thought the same thing. Fascism. They said it could not happen here. It's sort of that same attitude. And I think here's what I will concede.
Sure, we get to that. So, Robert Ducky was saying it's the rhetoric. Nobody else is pushing that stuff. So then the rhetoric behind the things we are talking about. That's what I'm asking you. What things that we're talking about? We're talking about a lot of things. The rhetoric behind the things we're talking about are being pushed and funded by these types of people. It's not Christians pushing this or Muslims from Qatar. So it's Barry the dentist from New York who's pushing these things. It's a tailored specific rhetoric for a specific reason. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. But again, I don't see how that is coming. I don't see how it is wrong to say that that is coming from Israel or even Zionists versus Jews. I mean, please, if you can. I'm not claiming to say anybody is wrong. I'm just saying I don't fucking get it. It should be very easy to lay out Because I understand all the Israel stuff. I understand all the Netanyahu stuff. I understand all the fucking American Zionism bullshit. I get that. I hate all of that. What does that have to do with Barry the dentist from New York? Dude said, as the West deteriorates and bellyaches over Jewish supremacy, developing Asian nations are on the come up by modeling themselves after. Well, I mean, don't forget that, while Muslims are not necessarily at the forefront of many things, they definitely are at the forefront of violent tribalism. So I'm much more worried about Islam than I am about Judaism. Adam said Nick gets all Jewable when talking about the small hats. Fair enough. Rubber Ducky said, you get it all, but you just don't understand how Barry the dentist from New York watching the specific rhetoric in his community that leads to his specific vote or support or donation to the cause. No. Because I don't see how there is I don't see how that rhetoric is specific to Jewish people. I see that rhetoric as going towards Zionism. That's specifically what I'm saying, is that I need to understand why why that difference doesn't matter. Shout out to Frank. Welcome to the party. Dave Smith is a top G. Agreed. Mark said he donates. It's like Sam Harris in the concentric circles of belief, just with Jews instead of Muslims. We can do it for Christians too. Fair enough. Nick is very similar to a middle-aged New York Jewish lady in a lot of ways. It's probably all of that projection. Morgal's Hammer said, individual Jews often have positions of power and influence. Obviously not the average Jew's fault. That's where I am. But it seems like I'm being told that's not correct. And so if that is not correct, please explain why.
I think that by we, I mean me. If my movement wants to have power and really put America first, it means we are going to have to sideline, by definition, Jews that put the Jewish nation first.
No,
that's fair.
And Christians too, for that matter. I mean,
yep.
I disagree. I think America's
well, I'm saying
country.
Christians. I'm saying.
Oh my God, brother! You're specifically saying America first, and if the Jews are more for Israel, then we can't abide by that. But if the Christians are more for Israel, maybe he didn't understand. Because it seems like Dave was about to be like, no. What I'm saying is the Christians that put Israel first. But if he's totally fine with Christians putting Israel first, then you ain't America first, motherfucker.
And Christians too, for that matter. I mean, like,
I disagree. I think America.
Well, I'm saying Christians. I'm saying Christians who put Israel first.
Oh yeah.
Too.
Okay. Just a misunderstanding. Has anyone read the Zohar? It has 8 genders in it. The Jews are the problem. No offense, just being honest. Okay, so tell me how. I'm not trying to argue with anybody. I'm not trying to say anybody is wrong. I'm trying to understand. So just explain it to me like I'm 5. It's not just Israel. It's the Jews specifically, because.
So I'm saying, which there are plenty of. Sure. And look, it's a huge part of this, because you talk about the kind of organization, but I think that's very true for evangelical Christians who are constantly having preachers, tell them that like, this is your duty, is to have this political outlook. I mean, there's tens of millions of them in the country. Yeah. And like, look, you can always say, well, that's the Jews manipulating them. But again, it just seems like this is presuming the conclusion. It's like,
are we not being manipulated though in that way?
Of course. No, I'm not denying that. I'm just saying it's not just Jews at the top of the manipulation.
And I agree, but that's where I have to come in as a Christian white American. And
so, okay, if I look up the Moors and how they got into Spain and how we, I assume you mean Americans, pushed them out, it's the same thing you see history repeating itself inside of the UK. So what happened when they got to Spain? How were they pushed out? And what is this? What is the same thing that we're seeing in the UK? That's what I'm asking about. Again, I'm not claiming that you're wrong, that this didn't happen. I'm coming to you from ignorance and saying, I don't understand. So this is what I'm asking. What is this? Frank said ideology coupled with control of international banking, not Israel, because the Jewish problem has been persistent through history prior to the birth of Israel. How? That's all I'm asking you. How? DJ said most people that Jew-fed post haven't done proper research. It's daunting and demoralizing. For instance, Hollywood. Before Hollywood, America did not have a clear image of itself for itself. Fair enough. Fair enough. Also, it's their upbringing, if we mean Jews that were raised in Judaism. Guys, stop using pronouns. Stop using pronouns. If what's their upbringing? That's what I'm asking you. I'm asking you. You're using all these things to say, to cover up the thing that you're saying. Just say the thing. Because what is their upbringing? I'm not being obtuse. Maybe I'm stupid. So Ducky said the Muslims, the Moors, were allowed to migrate here. Again, are we talking about America or where's here? Are allowed to migrate here from the policyholders who were Jews at the time, and it became so bad we had to push them out. Okay, and then I should hate the Jews for that because all right, let's fuck it. Let's do this. We know what Nick has to say. You guys come up and explain to me. Clearly, it's so obvious, and I'm just too stupid. So I just dropped the link. Come on up and tell me why, because of the Moors, we should hate Jews.
Say we have to disentangle these things and say, and yeah, wake up the evangelicals and say,
oh, and Christians don't think the same thing. Every group. Okay.
Look, this is not, you're American, you're Christian. They are not Christian. They are not American. It is not in our interest. We have to take our own side.
I think that there's the perhaps because you're Christian and I'm Jewish, but when you're talking about evangelical Christians, although not Catholics like yourself, you go, well, we got to wake them up and make them realize that. And I feel the same way about Jews in general. It's like, we got to wake them up and be like, yo, you're not about to be Holocausted and you don't need to support this in order to avoid one. And that's much tougher to do when everybody on Twitter is saying the Holocaust never happened, but if it did, it was good and it should happen again or something like that.
Sounds good to me. Shout out to Never Lucky Rubber Ducky. Welcome to the party. How are you doing?
Hey, how's it going, Lutz? Doing pretty good. So I'm not trying to be like one of those people. I'm just trying to teach you the history behind it because I'm Spanish. My last name, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to dox myself. But essentially what happened is the socialistic revolution of 1912, my family actually had to flee the country because they were in higher power. They were in the military and they came to America. Well, my grandfather ended up teaching us essentially the history of what happened there, and so it didn't happen again. And we're starting to see that happen repeatedly, and there's also the Cubans starting to see that happen in a different sense, but they're not being pushed out from a different group, right? So what I'm getting at is that Judaism uses Muslims as a sword to control other countries. What they'll do is they'll migrate people in and they'll use that to control. They'll use it for like violence, things like that, because they know how the Muslims act. And you see this in multiple different countries. It's not just Europe. I mean, there's tons of different ones we can look at, like Constantinople or Turkey now. And history has repeated itself over and over again. And it happened in Spain. And what I'm telling you is that the Moors, the Muslims at the time, were migrated there for free work or labor like you see in different senses right now. And what happened was they become so big, so populated that they ended up overthrowing most of Spain to the point where they pushed them all the way up north. And the King of Leon had to gather all of his troops, called for an entire, this is actually what caused the crusade, and they had to push them all out. So what I'm getting at is, and a lot of people today are calling for the Crusades, are calling for this stuff to happen. And I understand it. I know why. History is repeating itself. So what I'm saying is...
So can I stop you right there? When you're talking about how history is repeating itself in the UK, are you talking about how Muslims are coming into the country and kind of trampling on the English culture?
Yep.
Okay.
And the policyholders and the people that let them in are holding a specific ideology, and they're all of them come from this specific group. If not most. All is kind of a crazy claim.
So So why do we not look at that? Because I mean, you brought up the Crusades. We have the Spanish Inquisition. Why are we not? And Frank's saying, look at what the Jews did to Russia via the Bolshevik. Like, I get all of that. What does that have to do with Barry the dentist? That's what I'm not understanding.
Well, break it down for me. Explain it like I'm 5. What is Barry the dentist?
So just meaning, some random Jewish guy who's just living his life.
Some random Jewish guy that's just living his life, like
some guy who lives in New York City. He's a dentist.
What does Barry the dentist have to do with this? I'm talking to
he's Jewish. He's Jewish.
But I'm talking to Lech. I'm not talking to Barry the dentist.
Right, but we're saying the Jews are bad, and if he's a Jew, then he's bad because.
I'm not saying all Jews are bad. I'm saying history's repeating itself, and we have to be careful of these things that people are pushing and the ideologies that this group is pushing. I'm not saying that everybody behind it is pushing it. I'm saying the people who are funding this stuff, the people who are really pushing it, who are putting the feet down, their money behind the feet, it's not really the people per se who are Jewish, right? It's these higher people in power, like Nick Fuentes is saying, that just so happen to be represented in higher parts of government at a disproportionate level. Like, we can look at the Senate and how many people are actually dual citizenship, which is to me traitorous, but it's kind of it's upsetting.
So then, again, I'm with you with all of that. Why is that not seen as a political or a geopolitical thing and a religious thing? Because again, if we go back, if we're not even specifically talking about the state of Israel, then we can talk about Zionists and Zionism. I don't understand how we get from there to, again, going back to Barry the dentist, meaning just some guy who happens to be Jewish and is happening to live in his life. He's not pushing rhetoric like that. Maybe he is just like Dave and hates Israel just as much.
I don't know. I feel like it's kind of like a disingenuous thing, because to me, what you're kind of operating here under is you have Judaism, the country, or Israel, the country, which is you're Jewish, right? People who come out of Israel, they're usually Jewish, or they're usually from Palestine, or you have some type of quota underneath it, a title, if you will, like I'm American. But Judaism is also a religion in the fact that they can hide behind that as well. And it's also an identity, which is you have to be born into, I think, right? You have to be blood born into be a Jewish or something like that.
I believe so, yeah.
It's one of those things where it's a categorical error for me, because what do you mean by that? Which one are you talking about?
I don't know. It's a good question. I think that, kind of in the same line of what Dave is saying to Nick, that it's not even about, hey, you're wrong about this, but it's like you're damaging people's ability to understand the message because of the rhetoric. And
I agree. I don't like talking about this stuff because of that, but I feel like there has to be some type of talk to where I can get forward, not just hold these feelings, right? I need some understanding from you, where we can come together and have a good understanding of the situation and then move forward, right? Like, I'm not trying to sit here and just be like, oh yeah, it's the Jews or whatever it is. Like, I don't believe it.
I won't stand behind the it's the Jews comment wholly either there, but I can defend Bob the dentist right now. Basically how this works.
Barry, get his name right.
Okay, well, whatever the dentist's name was, he's a Jew, right? And by Jew, it's specifically implied that he was raised in a religion. Like, a lot of Americans are Christians, and a lot of people in the UAE are Muslims, and he's a Jew. So it's a very different thing that we're talking about. And they're taught a specific set of rules and structures, and they have their own doctrine, and they don't believe that Jesus died for all our sins, right? Christians believe that Jesus died for everyone. Jews actually believe they're the chosen people, and they have this supremacy issue. It's an actual supremacy issue. And it's not a white supremacy issue, it's a Jewish supremacy issue. And this is why I said earlier, like, the stereotypes are lining up. And this isn't meant, I don't mean all Jews, but within the religion itself. Like, if you've been taught this religion or you understand it to some degree, then you follow it. And it's like Sam Harris, like the concentric circles of belief. Like, in Islam, you have fundamentalists at the core, and then moderates, and then liberals, but they all actually share the same beliefs, and they all actually fully understand it in their enclosed bubble. And this is the same for Judaism, right? And it's separate from Zionism. And Zionism, I think,
so let's stop there. So I'm with you on that, and you're
Yeah.
saying it's different than Zionism. I want to pin down on that. How is it different than Zionism?
Zionism is the idea that the Jews should have a state aside from the religion, right? Like Muslims have states, Christians have states, the Jews have one state, essentially. That's basically what's going on. So,
but I mean, like
Zionism.
what is it?
Here's another
The
way to look
impact.
at it. What? So, in the context of what's happening right now, is like people like Ben Gvir believe in like the greater Israel project, where they think that they should actually take over Gaza and the West Bank, and they should own the whole strip outright, and there should be no Muslims living in it whatsoever. And they call that the Greater Israel Project, and that's a byproduct of the Judaism at its core, and then the Zionism that wants to push it into like some type of actual physical like manifestation of statehood, right? So, and this is why they've been fighting this whole time, right? They got Gaza and they got the West Bank, and those are Arabs, and not just Arabs but Muslims, right? That's the difference between the Arabs and the Muslims, you know, or the Jews and the Zionists, or the Christians, or I don't know, like Christians
The
have
faith versus the
kind of been tamed over Christian. I would rather live in a Christian nation for this very reason, because it doesn't have such a tight grip on what what a state should look like underneath it. You know, like the same way that Muslims or Jews do. Jews have a definitive, you know, it's a theocracy. Israel is a theocracy.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of theocracies at all.
So, Box, I'm a little bit more familiar with your politics in general, not so much for Rubber Ducky. So, I mean, I think it's fair to say, Box, you're definitely not aligned with Nick Fuentes. But Rubber Ducky, do you think that Nick, would it be fair to say you think Nick is on the right track?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't really watch Nick too much.
Okay.
He kind of throws me off. I don't really like the whole, it's the, you know, the thing. I don't, like you were saying earlier, I think you have to attack the specifics. Yeah, dun dun dun. You have to attack the specifics of something to hate a group that is doing something like that. And then you can't attack the entirety of the group, because you have to ask those people, what do you believe? And it's like you're asking me now, okay, where do you align? Because you need to ask these things before you attack my ideology, and that's fair. That's given. What I'm saying is that we need to do the exact same thing in this circumstance, but towards the other group. And we need to understand why you believe these things, and we should not support the Zionist things. We should support America, right? So I'm not really for
right.
Nick
And
as in like the whole Jew thing. I think we should put America first, but is he
We're
on the
not.
right track?
We're not.
I don't know. We're not.
That's the
Exactly.
other
Yeah,
thing.
we're not.
So,
That's what I said earlier in the chat, is like they're living up to the stereotypes, and you're like, what are the stereotypes? I'm like, well, they're influencing everyone with money. They appear to like want to exert some type of control. They actually have physical control, right?
Okay,
And they
but,
all
like,
believe this underlying ideology that they know, but they don't.
But that
really
implies
talk about,
that
you know,
implies that that's a unique thing of
It's not.
a group of people. Well, exactly. So if
It-
all
it-
different groups of
it's
people
unnecessary.
are doing
It's-
this, when we have,
it's
you know,
unequally
hold on.
powerful.
When we have
Sorry.
we can talk about the Democratic establishment and the Republican establishment and the Uniparty establishment and the all of these
the
different.
Jews pay them all.
Well, and that again, doesn't
They pay
Israel
them
pay
all.
them all? Because Barry the dentist is
I don't
not.
know. No, that's where.
How
it
is
mixes up again.
how is Barry the dentist
That's how
paying
it
into it?
mixes. It's like the idea that you could be a Jew, but are you a Jew that would give money like the Adelsons give money? You know, like they're like. Are
But
you
again, that
capable of
seems to
giving
be
money?
more of a political
Are
thing.
you a Jew that believes this and aren't capable of actually producing any power, or are you like a Ben Shapiro, where like you're a Jew, you're definitely a Zionist, and you have the influence to do this kind of a situation? So you're right about the spectrum. There is that whole spectrum, but the idea just alone of being a Jew is enough to put you into that orbit, essentially, and it's just an underlying feature, essentially.
Fair enough. Rubber Ducky, you want to jump in?
I was just having a question for you. Like, what do you mean by like the Barry and the dentist stuff? Because looking at the opposite spectrum of it, like you yourself are a MAGA atheist, right? How did you become a MAGA atheist? Was it the community? Was it the propaganda? Was it the rhetoric? What behind it really made you MAGA?
The MAGA aspect of it was definitely understanding the difference in types of propaganda, and that the left-wing propaganda that I was consuming was just like way off. Whereas, of course, there's right-wing propaganda, but it doesn't seem to be as egregious. And so like the big, like, there wasn't one big red pill moment, but the Rittenhouse trial was really, before the trial, I was like, I think, I'm liking this side a little bit more. But after seeing all of that stuff and the reactions, I was like, oh yeah, I'm on this side, not that side.
Yeah, but that's kind of hard to get after or get behind. When was it a BLM right? He shoots into it, he hits a pedophile, all these other just terrible people, and you shoot into a Trump rally and you get a father, a firefighter, and
right?
Just like,
but with the atheism stuff, again, I was born into the Catholic Church, confirmed in the Methodist Church. So until I was 20-ish years old, there was no, like, I knew what an atheist was, but the idea of actually living and not having that belief didn't seem like a thing. And then, I finally sat down and read the Bible. And I was also, studying psychology and philosophy. And so I just realized it's not necessary, at least for me personally. But
see, that's funny.
Go ahead.
I was actually raised atheist. My dad was a Marine at a young age, told me when you die, it's all black. It's like when you fall asleep, and that messed me up really, really bad from a young age. And it wasn't until I got married and I had kids that I really thought about it. And do I really want to tell my kids this? No. Why? Because I want to give them hope. I don't care if it's real or not. It's one of those things where I want to believe in it. It's an illogical thing, but I do believe. It started because I was an atheist. I had to start somewhere, but that's kind of interesting that you went to the opposite.
Well, and this ties into people, often Christians. When I talk to Christians, they find out that I'm an atheist. Then I'll get something like, "Oh yeah, when I was younger, I had an atheist phase, and then I grew up, or I had a family, or this, that, and then I came back to religion." And good for you if that's your story, but I don't think it is directly relevant, because I think most people who have that trajectory where you grow up in a religion, Christianity or otherwise, and you leave it and then you come back to it, the time you've left is not usually spent studying moral philosophy, how the brain believes things, all these kinds of things. So it almost seems like you just turned off your spirituality one day and then you turned it right back on, which is a different thing than keeping that spirituality on, but just looking elsewhere for it.
Yeah. That's hard to do.
It ain't easy.
I started off going to Sunday school and shit a little bit, because that's like what my daycare did. And then like my parents were never particularly religious, so I just we went to church like once or twice, because I thought they just wanted to do that for me, kind of a thing. And I thought I was I still have right here, I have my childhood Bible right here. I got this guy when I was like fucking, I don't know, 5 or something like that.
That's awesome.
I still got it. It's still here, but like early 2000s, that very first early wave of atheism that was kind of pushing back against like the idea of like the Iraq war and shit. I jumped into all that. I lost my religion and I just never got it back.
Dang.
I'd like to believe I had to stop actually bashing on Christians, because it never made me feel good. Talking people out of their religion isn't really a thing.
Yeah, like, that's that red pill rage.
Yeah, sure, you can do it, but is that really like what you want to set as a goal? I never thought. I did it for a while, and then when I looked at it in retrospect, I was like, "This is
not helping anybody."
I feel the same way as a Christian. I don't really want to talk anybody into the religion. The way that I see it is that if you really want to come, just come to church. I'm not going to sit there and talk you into it, because at the end of the day, I don't know what you went through. I could have been exactly the same as you, given the same circumstances. I don't know, so I'm not going to judge you.
Fair enough. So interesting. Liberty Plus TV says not all Jews are dark occultists, but all dark occultists study Judaism. What do you guys think about that?
That's weird. I mean, I know the witch and all that weird stuff that gets into it, because my grandma.
What about the Jews crawling out the sewers in New York City?
We synced it. But
come on, man, there was blood on that mattress. We all saw it.
Yep. But when I read this, I like the thing that sticks out to me is the occultist part, not the Jew part. And that's what I'm having trouble. Like, yes, you could say there are these I don't know, connections or these correlations or whatever. But I don't think it is. I don't think it is intellectually honest to draw it back to Jews. And I haven't heard an explanation as to why it is specifically Jews, because Jews includes Barry the dentist. Whereas if we're talking about Zionists, or we're talking about the state of Israel, or we're talking about Bibi Netanyahu, then those people are actually doing the thing. Or even if we're talking about the American government and Trump.
I'm familiar with the Bible. I'm a little bit familiar with the Quran, but I'm not really familiar with the Talmud or whatever the Jewish Bible is necessarily. So I'll have to brush up on that there at least a little bit to some degree, I think. But
wait, so let me steel man you for a second. Sorry, Box, to interrupt you.
Yeah, you're fine.
So what you're saying is, if I'm right, since there is bad apples and across the board in every single aspect, whether that's doctors, American patriots, Canadian men, it doesn't matter, right? You apply that to the Jewish people here at large, and that's not an actual application. That's what you're saying, right? Which is fair. That's a really good argument. It's really hard to break down. But what if I told you there is a specific group?
What do you mean?
Look up the Ashkenazi.
That's what Ben Shapiro is.
So let's see. I don't know how the fuck to spell that.
Ashkenzi, I think is what it is. Ashkenazi. No, I fucked that up. Ashkenazi.
Well, let's do it. I don't even know how to fucking say it. Ashkenazi.
Ashkenazi.
ASH.
Ashkenazi Jews.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There we go.
Usually those are the people at the forefront of rhetoric, the people pushing the agenda and the money behind it.
So there's a subgroup of the Jewish people whose ancestors lived in Central and Eastern Europe, particularly Germany, France, and Poland, beginning a little over 1,000 years ago. They developed Yiddish. I hate when they do that. Just let me highlight this shit. Customs that were migrating from the Rhineland due to persecution. Today, the majority of Ashkenazi Jews live in Israel and the United States, and they account for the largest segment of the Jewish population worldwide. Should I keep going, or can you?
What I'm saying here is that's narrowing down the proposition that you're saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
So inside of the Ashkenazi Jew, now we can look at the people inside that. And look towards what they're pushing, what the agenda is, and the rhetoric that they're doing, right? Kind of like the Zionists.
Mm-hmm. Hold on.
When World War II happened, basically all those Jews from Europe tried to go, like, they went to Africa, North Africa, they went to the Middle East and shit, and then they slowly got kicked out of those countries, and they all kind of migrated to, like, Israel or wherever they were accepted.
All right, hold on real quick.
States and no Jews.
Everybody, okay. Well, maybe it's me then. Okay, wait, we're getting an echo, so hold on. Let me pop out and come back in, and maybe that'll fix it.
Oh, it's the Jews.
And Heather?
Mic check?
Yep.
While they're talking about that, so then you're saying the Ashkenazi Jews are a more specific group that we could more fairly say they are pushing the rhetoric?
We could break it down we could break it down to these people.
Cap on the back of the head too.
The groups inside of this group and break it down further, right? To specify it and go into the specifics of it. It's what we want to do, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Would that actually convince you, though? Like, before I actually break it down and get into it, would it convince you?
Theoretically,
I don't want to. I mean, I don't want to take the time to break it down to you and show you this information if you're not going to change your mind genuinely.
I can't promise you that I will or I won't, but I can definitely promise you that if it makes sense, I'm not here to
suck it up and use it.
Yeah, I'm not here to say right or wrong. I'm coming from ignorance. I'm completely
Okay, so
ignorant.
from the information that I've shown you so far, is it not any, how's your leaning? Is it like 1%? Is it like 10%? Like, are you like even entertaining the thought now, or?
Not really, because it
Not
still
really,
seems
okay.
it still seems like a correlation and not a causation. It's not because you're Ashkenazi. It's that this ideology exists and it happens to
Yes.
be in most of the
But
Ashkenazi.
don't you think that's a fallacy in and of itself? Because correlation doesn't equal causation, but causations look at equal a correlation. Like every causation has to happen because of a correlation, right?
Yeah.
So by that being said, you're looking for a specific correlation, which you're tying to that causation. I can't give you that because I don't know what that correlation is what I'm telling you the fallacy is. So unless you tell me that, I can only give you X, Y, Z, and you're looking for A. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So if I'm in a position where, again, I'm completely, very much dislike the relationship that we have with Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, the way that people feel like they have to buy in to, Israel's so important, all that stuff. Then is the argument about the these kind of Jews that it is. Oh, okay. I have a parallel. So I don't know if you've ever seen Bill Maher's Religulous. He did a documentary in like 2001 or something.
Yeah.
And part of it, most of it's about Christianity, but part of it, he goes to, I don't know, somewhere where there's a big Muslim population. And he starts asking questions about, inconsistencies or like in the Quran or things in the faith that might not be, ideal by Western standards and all this stuff. And, everybody's like, no, you're just reading that wrong. You're just reading that wrong. And there is, again, I don't know exactly what it is. I have to look at it, but there's some aspect of the Muslim faith where it's like, it's cool to lie to make sure that we look good. How related to what we're talking about with the Jews is that?
I mean, there is a form of that in Judaism that you're allowed to do that, but I don't know how correlated it is, but
Mildly.
I don't know if they took it from him, maybe.
Because of the tether to the core actual religion of Judaism, right? So it's a thin thread and it's different for everyone, but it's definitely tethered. Like, this is, basically like...
It's fine to lie to the Goyim. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Adam said, Lutch, you have a lot to learn. Did you know that on every continent there are Jews? They have invaded every landmass. God only knows what they are doing to the penguins. I did know that, but again, I'm looking for a specific reason as to why.
We say goy, right? I brought up the definition of the word goy, right? And you can say goy, and it means like other than, basically. And really, you're calling everyone else the N-word. Right? You might as well just be calling us all N-words. Like, it's almost exactly the same. It's like, you are less than us. We are better than you. We're going to do better than you, and we will beat you. Kind of a situation. And that hubris just pisses me off on a fundamental level. I don't understand that.
I hear you.
Anger that happens from that. But it's different than, like, Christianity or being a Muslim. Well, Muslims, the extremist Muslims, but the idea of being a goy is central to even moderate Jews.
I mean, there's videos on X of people making the traditional pilgrimage.
I don't know that you can even post that on YouTube.
And there's just Hasidic Jews just spitting on them, and they ask them why they're doing it, and they're saying it's a tradition to do that. And I can't.
Yeah, if you've ever seen some racist ass Jews before, the Jews it's not even racism. It's religiously, basically. It's fucking different. It's not because you're black, it's because you're not Jew. And it's a huge through line through basically Jews. When you say Jews, that's what I mean. I mean, the Jews that would call me goy are the Jews I'm talking about. We could differentiate. That could be the litmus test. Am I goy?
So then would it be, as Dave and Nick are talking about the optics of the conversation and the rhetoric and all that stuff, would it be helpful to the cause of calling out that which we don't like that is connected to Judaism, if we had a more specific word instead of saying the Jews, because that's so broad and doesn't necessarily include Barry the dentist.
The Jews do got going for them. Hold on, the cool thing that they got going for them is they do in fact have basically a liberal democracy. Like, you get all sorts of voices left or right, and they're all kind of really free to just speak their mind, even in Israel. Like, they got the anti-war. They don't, like, you have the people that love Gaza and the people that are greater Israel, and you got everything in between. And we don't get it on American TV, but they have a voice where they live in a way that other countries don't. And I think that to some degree should be applauded, but it's still, at the end of the day, they're going to lose, dude. Israel is going to lose. Israel's surrounded by a massive an
Got your
ideology
prediction saved. So
that fundamentally disagrees that they should even exist, right?
Fair enough. I'm getting a better picture of where you guys specifically are coming from. The trouble is when we go back to Nick Fuentes specifically.
Yeah.
Then I have trouble determining, like, if you have this position, where do you agree and where do you disagree? So we are coming up on the 2.5 hour mark, guys. So if you would like
another couple dollars, you're on poor till tomorrow.
You know what to do. So I figured with the time we have left, why don't we jump back into the video and see a little bit more, and maybe that'll trigger some more specific questions.
I hope I did the Bob Berry thing justice.
You did. Well, because just to steel man that, then you're saying that even though Barry the dentist just happens to be an Ashkenazi Jew, then it's not that he is inherently bad. It's just that he's playing into the system.
He has a whole set of beliefs involved with his life, basically, that's very much different than what you would think they are.
Fair enough. That makes more sense than anything that I've heard from a Nick Fuentes type ever. So let's dive back in here. I'll back it up a little bit, see what they were talking about. And if you want to pause it, let me know.
And you don't feel the same way about Jews in general. It's like, we got to wake them up and be like, yo, you're not about to be Holocausted, and you don't need to support this in order to avoid one. And that's much tougher to do when everybody on Twitter is saying the Holocaust never happened, but if it did, it was good and it should happen again or something like that. So that would be, let's do, I just always completely lose track of time on these things. Let's talk about Charlie Kirk a little bit.
Okay.
Because there was, me and you both, as I mentioned, have.
So I think they're going to go into the aspect of Candace talking about Israel here. So I don't think we're going left. So let's
gotten a bunch of heat for not like immediately jumping to these conspiracy theories. Although, like, as I've said the whole time, I'm like, I'm open to it. Like, show me what you got. I do though think, and I've talked about this a bit on my show, I know you have on yours as well. I do think that the story of Charlie Kirk, though, and his relationship with Israel is really interesting.
Yes.
So aside from the conspiracy stuff, and I guess that my friend Candace, who your dear friend too,
I knew it.
Fan, yeah.
She just last night released evidently some screenshots of a group chat where Charlie had said, he was very frustrated with a Jewish donor who I guess had pulled some money from him, and he had said something about like, I'm gonna not be able to be a Israel supporter anymore. Certainly doesn't tell you anything pointing to his murder, but it does certainly show you that, like, if that's true, and I'm assuming Candace like isn't posting a screenshot that's made up. I think Candace has more integrity than that. So if that's true. Man, Josh Hammer and these guys have been being really dishonest about what really happened with Charlie Kirk. And I will tell you this story. I don't know if you've heard this before. I apologize.
So while we're before they go into that, how do you guys feel about the notion that Israel killed Charlie Kirk?
There's not enough information to be certain, but this information that's out there right now is kind of weird.
Weird. You agree, Box? I'll take that as a yes. All right, so let's see. Again, unfortunately for the purpose of this conversation, Nick is not pushing that.
But I will say, if anybody's going to find out who Charlie Kirk's killer is, it's going to be the woman who found Bridgette's penis. All right, that's definitely going to be her.
Why did Candace go down that road? That was such just a rocky road to go down. Why?
Yeah,
Why did she do that?
I don't know that. I like before Charlie, I definitely understood like okay, she's a little bit out there, but I was saying she's grounded. She's not making things up. She's presenting these things that are a little bit out there. But even if there's speculation, then speculation based on something. But I haven't followed it too closely, but from the clips I've seen with Charlie Kirk,
Keith Macron's fucking dick have to do with helping Americans, everyday Americans, smaller government, less
Truth
taxes,
matters.
anything that
Truth
we give a shit about.
Truth
She
matters.
did like a whole expose on some fucking lady's dick. That
Trump
may
called
or may
it. Trump
not
called it,
exist.
said-
I don't want to get fucking sued. I don't fucking know, but like, why? It's a complete waste of fucking effort. She's brilliant.
I still
Candace
can't
is
believe
fucking
half
That's
brilliant.
journalism.
though. I can't believe
That's
him,
what she chose to do.
That's
I
journalism,
don't
baby.
know. Is she trolling us? I feel like I
think
got
she is.
trolled. I feel like we got trolled.
Potentially.
Come on.
You're just
man.
saying Dave, Candace, and Nick are all psyops, whether they are aware of it or not.
Wouldn't
Potentially.
surprise me at this point.
You never know. Shout out to JL. Welcome to the party. I'm still just trying to figure out, why does Nick Fuentes hate the Jews? Welcome to the party. Let's dive back in here and see if anything that he's saying, because actually I think that could be helpful. If Nick is not behind the idea that Israel took out Charlie Kirk, then maybe we could see some specifics of what exactly is the litmus test that he uses.
Just the fans.
It's
I have told them
hard
this
for
before.
me to describe Nick's position without getting booted out the show.
We
Say again?
got
We got
go.
Oh, again? God damn it. Hold on.
And then there was two of us. How you doing, Box?
Here we are. Yo. I hope you're doing well.
Oh, we're doing good.
That's
Oh,
good.
now he's back. Welcome back.
How we doing? Test. Sound.
Here.
Mic check.
All right. Yeah, so we'll see if there's some specifics that we can get into. And when Nick is like, no, this is why I don't think that we have enough information on Israel for this, then I'm hoping okay, well, what about that then? So, let's see.
Kirk, and I will tell you this story. I don't know if you've heard this before. I apologize to the fans because I have told them this before. But so my only experience where I debated Josh Hammer twice, I think I was telling you this outside and then we got distracted. But so the second time I debated him is at this Charlie Kirk event. And the whole time Charlie Kirk was just like, look, I really want to keep this civil and not be a mudslinging thing. And I go, absolutely, no problem. I think I'm very much like you. In that sense, I think we're very similar, that we're both kind of guys who actually really do care about the ideas and the issues. And if you approach us with like, let's debate these, it will 100% of the time be a substantive conversation. However, if you want to be vicious, like we're also okay with playing that game. Like, and you're like, I will be more vicious than you. I mean, maybe not you, but just about everybody else. You're not going to, and like,
I'm not surprised.
I should be a little more mature than that at this age, but that is how I am. So I went, sure, no problem. So we go in the back. We're in like the green room. It was me and Charlie and his I'm blanking on his name, but his guy, who's the guy on his show now, who's kind of like his right hand man.
Andrew Colvin.
Yes, I believe that was him. So it was the three of us, and we talked for a while, and then Josh Hammer came in. And we're just talking, everybody's just being friendly and talking. We were kind of talking about every issue except Israel, because like we're about to go debate that. So we were talking about immigration and started talking about family stuff at one point, just like everyone having a nice conversation. And Charlie, and it was like, okay, we're going to go have this debate. And I was not sure what I was walking into there. Like it was very, very interesting because like.
All right, so they're just talking about that debate specifically. But Adam said, why do people hate the Jews? It's because people have this idea that is backed up by data that Jewish people typically are overrepresented based on their population. You know who else is overrepresented based on their population? Asians.
But Asians aren't trying to push trans ideology and all this other stuff, so we're fine with that.
Right. But I come back to that same question. Why are we not talking about, even if we want to say this specific sect of Jews, why is it just that it's a colloquial thing to like, oh, we all understand. We don't mean all Jews. We just mean the Jews that are the Jews. Is that kind of what's implied when you say the Jews? You don't mean
you
Barry
know
the
that
dentist?
inside of that religion, there's more than two genders, right? Like it's a religion thing. That's not just like a.
I think I did hear that.
Okay, so if you know that, why can't I use that as a qualifier?
A qualifier for what?
As a belief that pushed that agenda. Why can't I use that? Why is that wrong?
What do you mean use it?
Use it in the sense that, okay, it's the Jews that believe this to push this agenda. If they're the only people that have and hold this belief because inside that religion, that's what they believe. Why is that wrong?
Because all non-Jewish liberals have that same ideology.
No, I'm saying using but where did they get it from, right? Where again, that agenda was pushed by certain people inside of that party that are holding these certain types of groups that, fund this stuff. Why is that wrong to say that, hey, this is a qualifier because it came from this religion? If that religion is pushing it, it's just like the Muslims in Sharia law. Why is that wrong?
It's not. It's not. I just, again, I think it is, when you guys are talking about, well, that's kind of implied when we say the Jews. We don't mean anybody who follows the faith. We mean the people from these specific groups that are pushing it. I don't know that is what people understand of it. And if that is what you're saying, then again, specifically with the Nick Fuentes, the Groyper thing, then you're really shooting yourself in the foot, because support for Israel and all of this stuff that we're talking about, trans ideology, whether it has to do with Judaism or not, all of these things are falling out of favor. And so I think is it
though? Because he's becoming one of the most watched people. He's holding the most generational approach to anybody besides Charlie Kirk.
Who is?
Nick Fuentes. Go look at his
That's actually kind of. Do you know what? Here's what I thought about that too, by the way, because I saw Nick come up like right after Kirk went down, and I was like, dude, if they murked Kirk and Fuentes came in, that is like just some of the most bittersweet irony I could possibly imagine, honestly. Like, because it's just two different.
Because Charlie
things.
was the moderate.
This is an apple and we're talking about an apple and an orange essentially. Right, and so the idea that Kirk goes and Fuentes gets put in is wild work, and I will applaud that to some degree. I think on a fundamental level, just principle.
And I do agree with TheIndianJesus on how the optics level of it doesn't look too good. But at the end of the day, if you can explain it, why does that matter?
It doesn't, but it's only right now talking to YouTube where I've even gotten a little bit further. That's the problem.
But have you even looked into it though?
Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying is that it seems like it's a big club where there's a barrier to entry that you have to already know that the Ashkenazi Jews are doing this and they are behind that.
That's a lot.
Where's the entry ramp to that?
The entry ramp is history, my brother. Have you looked?
That's not how
anything?
this works. Come on, man. We know that people don't just
Shane
study
Gillis
history.
can do it. You can do it too.
Sure,
Shane
I can do
Gillis
it. But
named off every president in
That's not what I'm
order
saying.
one day.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you expect the general population to understand that when you say the Jews, that you mean this specific group of people, then it doesn't matter that you know the history, that it is not inaccurate to say. But
I would just
again,
like to
if you
say
agree that the optics are bad, then we need to fix the optics.
I would just like to say,
and one more thing. We need to fix the optics. And also, we can't blame people for seeing the optics as they are just because they're ignorant to the facts.
Yeah. I did say the Jews once, but I cleared that up with the Zionism comment right after that. I don't actually mean the Jews in the same way that I don't think Kanye means the Jews either.
Yeah,
Kanye was
I don't
onto
know
something.
about that. Kanye's
right.
weird.
Kanye was on to something.
There's the problem right there.
It's wild.
Let's put that to a poll.
You got to grapple with that. Somebody has to grapple with that. If nothing else, the Jews have to grapple with that. So, and it's like maybe he is a genius and maybe he is like ahead of his time again. But Yeezys will forever fucking suck. Period. What? Fucking graduation don't count no more? Give me a fucking break, dude.
I agree with you, Indian Jesus, in the sense that if you're trying to push the messaging forward to we have an actual better understanding, like I was saying earlier, so we can actually have a better optic and actually make people come over to our side, I agree with you there. But the problem is that we have such a censorship. It really is a 1984 Orwellian system where we can't even say, certain things, like we have to say grape and unalive. And you can't get this information out there on the internet because it's being censored. I can show you left and right,
every day.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, specifically on the language thing, like, yeah, it's annoying to especially on TikTok to be saying pew pew and unalive and all these things, but that doesn't mean that I can't get my message across by using these toddler ass words.
Euphemisms. It's like Animal Farm. They were using metaphors, right? Everyone's using a metaphor. That's why I say Animal Farm. I feel like is more like real life. By the way, in the whole 1984 Animal Farm debate, just to sidetrack real quick. Like, yeah, we're using metaphors. Absolutely. And in a different way than they used in 1984. That's for fucking sure.
So, right? There you go. New speak.
That was actually fucking happening. We're calling people different animals instead of calling them by their actual names, like Nazis or fascists or capitalism or America or Germany. Or any of the other euphemisms in that whole fucking book. They masked the whole fucking thing with animal names. And we're doing it right now. Almost 100 years later.
Yep.
It's fucking upsetting for me.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. Based on what you've heard me say about Israel and BB and the relationship with America and all of that stuff, and specifically how, when October 7th happened, I didn't know jack shit. I brought people on. We were talking about it. I was more pro-Israel. And then over time, I realized, oh, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
If with that understanding, do you think that if from, I'm going to use a vague term, from the very beginning, just bear with me, from the very beginning of this, people were talking specifically about the Ashkenazi Jews instead of just saying Jews. Do you think, or how much do you think that would change the public perception of this anti-Israel position?
Not at all.
Probably not much at all. Like I said, there's too much deception behind them to actually understand what they are. Like I was saying earlier, what are you talking about? Jewish in the sense of Israel identity, Jewish in the sense of religious identity, or Jewish in the sense of blood identity because, oh yeah, I'm proud to be a Jewish heritage in America. What are you talking about? That doesn't make anything clear to what your like morals or stances are on certain things, right? So
I mean, I'd argue the same thing about saying Christian or Muslim.
That's why we're having the conversation to get down to the specifics to understand the history behind it and the context that it deserves, right? But we can't do that because of the censorship. They're hiding behind the guys, and this isn't exactly a conversation that you'd have in the street.
Well, I mean, of course, guys, that pinned link to the Discord, it is free to join, and it is absolutely a free speech platform. So we definitely don't have to worry about any censorship over there. I would love for you guys to come and join. And don't forget, if you click the link, that is free. Even though the rest of the server is members only, you get a day pass to hang out and come to the after party. So I want to, who came up first? Rubber Ducky came up first. So I'll give you the floor. Let people know where can they find you? What do you do? Anything else that you want them to know about?
Oh no, I just hop from panel to panel. I just come up here and talk to people. That's what I like to do. So thanks for having me. I really appreciate you doing all this.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much for hanging out, and hope to see you in the after party. Have a good one. Buxy, my boy, give us your best not argument, but lay out the case for why it is not anti-Semitic to hold the types of positions that you, myself, and Rubber Ducky have been talking about. So we're not getting into what Nick Fuentes specifically says. We're talking about this conversation specifically. Why were you guys not anti-Semitic?
It is anti-Semitic.
Okay.
It's anti-Semitic, and you shouldn't be abashed by that.
Okay, fair enough.
Where this is America, we're free to have our positions.
Fair. Okay.
I don't
but then,
like Judaism any more than I like Islam, right? I don't like either
right.
of them.
But
I don't like either of them equally. I actually dislike both of them.
Fair.
So, and
but
that's a position that
but
we
you're-
are fundamentally allowed to have in America, and we
Right.
should
Hold on.
exercise.
So, but you would disagree with people being treated differently under the law because of the fact
No.
that they were
No.
Muslim or Jewish. Well, okay.
No, absolutely.
So-
I love America. That's why I love America. That's the other side of the coin. We're talking about religion.
So,
We're
okay,
talking about
fair.
their states versus
Totally
our
fair.
states.
So then let me
Fucking
ask a
America
follow-up.
all the way.
So let me ask a
Yeah.
follow-up then. So if you're saying that it's okay to not like these groups of people under, and not you personally, you're saying the law, it's okay for these people to be treated differently. Why can't we do that for black people?
I don't want us to be treated differently. Black people don't necessarily get treated differently. It's just very unfortunate.
But
that
they
do
should.
so many
That,
fucking
based on
crimes.
your logic, they should.
know,
You're
I
saying
know.
these.
They
You
do-
love America.
like,
They're
the stats
they're
turn this
13% of the population committing
We're kind of
almost
mixing
60%
state
of the
and religion
crime.
right now, which is what Zionism does. We're mixing state
That's
and
totally
religion.
that's totally fine. That's totally fair. But the logic, the principle still stands. It is okay to be bigoted against these people because it is because what they are doing is harming my culture. Right? That's what you would say about the
I understand.
Ashkenazi Jews. Correct? It's
Yeah,
okay to be
well, I mean,
anti-Semitic.
you have Sephardic Jews too.
Okay,
right,
I
he
know,
was
but
talking-
I'm just trying to nail that. I want to nail down
Yeah,
what
sorry.
you are saying because I asked you about anti-Semitism. You said, yeah, actually, it is anti-Semitism.
It is
And so you're
anti-Semitic.
saying it is anti-Semitism, but it's okay that I'm anti-Semitic. But when we say something is racist,
I didn't say
even
it
if
was
it-
okay that
even
I
if
was
it's tied.
anti-Semitic.
Hold on, let me just finish the
fair,
question. Let me just finish the question. So we're talking about Jews and the correlation, and you're saying, well, you know, the stereotype fits, so it's okay to be anti-Semitic. But I don't think you, correct me if I'm wrong, would say that because of the fact that black people are 13% of the population, commit over 60% or almost 60% of the crime, that we should treat them differently under the law.
Yeah, I'm not blackist either.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then what is the difference between why it is okay to treat Jews differently under the law and Muslims differently under the law, but not blacks under the law?
That's not my position at all. That's why I say I like America.
Okay, so let's back up then. Let's back up.
I as an individual get to say I don't like that. I don't like that. That's icky. That's ewy. Throw that.
Right, I
out.
didn't ask you about that.
I get to say all that.
I
as an
specifically
American
said,
citizen.
so let's back up. I specifically said under the law. So you,
Yeah,
so
under the law,
again,
we're all treated equally. You get to go to the mosque. You get to go to synagogue. You get to go to
but you're
church,
saying that you
get
don't
to go
want
to
that.
temple.
That's
do
what I
want
was asking. Maybe you misunderstood the question, but I wasn't saying.
sorry.
I wasn't asking. Are you anti-Semitic, and is it okay for you to be anti-Semitic? I'm talking about the
Yeah,
law.
the ideas that I
So
was
it is-
laying
so-
out are
So the question is:
definitively
Is it
anti-Semitic.
okay? Is it okay for the U.S. government to treat Jews differently under, or excuse me, apply the laws differently to Jews or Muslims?
No.
Why not?
Oh man, that goes so hard. I wasn't
I thought
expecting all that. No, like my brain just went into a deep
Well, I think it's a-
hole
I mean,
there.
if
So
I
the
think that you would just say that bigotry is wrong.
Because we have the First Amendment. No, you get to believe whatever the fuck you want to believe. You get to believe whatever you want to believe, right? Whatever it is, it doesn't actually matter.
Okay,
And you
so-
actually get to take your beliefs into Congress too. But
sure, but that's
I don't have to like them on a personal level, and I don't.
That's
think
not what I'm
it's
asking
right.
about. That's not what I'm asking about. Again, I'm talking about the law. And so
Yeah, the
if
law-
we're saying if you're saying it's okay to be
Congress shall
anti,
make no religion. Yeah, no, make no law like establishing a religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof.
yeah, prohibiting treating Jews
That's
or
the-
Muslims
that's the other
differently
side
under
of
the
that
law
sword.
is
Yeah, you can't-
prohibiting thereof.
They can't prohibit the free exercise thereof. Yes,
I know that.
that's religious freedom.
Listen,
That's what America's about.
I'm trying to determine. I would assume, I would have assumed that you would think that anti-Semitism is a bad thing because it's treating a
No.
whole group of people based on stereotypes or whatever. And so if that's not bad, what is the difference between applying stereotypes to Jewish people and applying stereotypes to black people?
I was born in the 80s. I fucking love stereotypes still. I never gave them up. I'm sorry. It's not really the answer
Fox,
anyone wants to hear, but that's the idea.
just listen to the question again.
No,
Listen to the question again. In situation A, you are saying Jews do things differently, so it's okay to be anti-Semitic.
It's okay to disagree with those ideas.
Right. And you are. I was asking if that's anti-Semitic, and you said yes.
Yeah.
And that's okay. So okay.
Yeah.
In situation A, it is okay to treat this group differently because of the stereotype of that group.
I'm going to think about them differently. We shouldn't treat them any differently.
Okay, fair enough. So then why should we not treat black people just the same, but think negatively of them?
I think we try to. I think we try to do our best there.
Why? Why don't you try to do it with Jews then?
Because we're white and it's important to us.
What?
Law and order, colonialism, the idea that, oh my God, white cat. I have a white cat. I have a white cat with blue eyes. I'm sorry, man. God damn it, Casper.
So again, I'm gonna try one more time.
Sorry.
We have two. I'm giving you two situations, and from my perspective, the principle it applies to both situations. And so, if you're saying it's okay to be anti-Semitic, then you should say it's okay to be racist. If you say it's not okay to be anti-Semitic, you should say it's not okay to be racist. Hold on, Box. Yeah, if you're saying it's okay to be anti-Semitic, then logically you should say it's okay to be racist. But you're making a difference. You're saying it's okay to be anti-Semitic, but it's not okay to be racist. What is the difference? What is the difference?
It's okay to be both. Yeah, you can be a racist too.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Again, that it all falls back under America, right? And like we're like one of the few countries that get to do this, right? The idea that I don't like a black person for one reason or another.
No. Not liking a black person because they are black. Not liking a black person because they are black, and the correlations that come along with that. You're making the exact same argument for Jews, and having no trouble with it. But then when we make the same exact argument with black people, then it's like, hey, whoa.
It's like if you say, fucking 13% of wizards cast 50% of the spells. Is that a racist comment? I think it is to some degree because we're actually thinking about race.
Do you understand where I'm coming from? Do you understand the question that I'm asking about the difference?
Not necessarily. No, I think they're inextricably linked.
I don't disagree, but is it good or bad to be racist?
It depends, and that's an unsatisfactory answer. Like what? Like
fair
no.
Enough. So
no,
I'll be more specific then. Is it a good or bad thing to go around thinking that all black people are bad for whatever reason without knowing the person?
There's another way. Am I better than black people because I'm white?
That's not no. I'm not asking about supremacy.
That's what the Jews are on. That's the level the Jews are on.
That's not. Stick with me, brother. Stick with me, brother.
Yeah, I'm here with you.
I'm again trying to differentiate your positions on anti-Semitism and your positions on racism. And if you're saying that it's okay to be racist sometimes, then fair. I can understand that. But does that fall in line with other things that you say that if we were to talk about BLM or something like that, it seems like you would be more in line with we don't want to be racist, even though in general there are situations where it is okay to be racist. In general, we don't want to be racist. Do you agree or disagree with that statement?
I agree. I tend to love people more than I give a shit about what they look like.
Okay, so we agree with that. Even though there may be situations where it is reasonable to be racist, we should try not to be racist. What is the difference between saying that and saying, well, we shouldn't try to be anti-Semitic, but sometimes, the shoe fits?
Well, yeah. Well,
or are you...
Really what I was saying, like the ideas that I was espousing earlier are literally like anti-Semitic insofar as like, it's like, it goes against, it's like I'm being an atheist, essentially, right? It's not a racism thing. I'm an atheist and I'm like, I don't fucking like this. And it is going against Semitism. Like, I don't like the idea of being a Jew. I don't like the idea of being a Muslim. right? You could call me an anti-Muslim. You could call me an anti-fucking Christian. These are things that in America we are allowed to discuss, and we get to think about, and we get to have positions on. And the idea that I hold an anti-Semitic position doesn't mean that I hate all Jews, or that, if I think I'm afraid that I walked down the street one night, that I hate all black people.
Right.
Or
And
that
so what
I
I'm
think
trying
that
to say,
Christians are going to take everyone's fucking rights away, basically, if they ever end
so
up in
what
a
I'm trying to
theocracy
say
in
is
America.
before this conversation, I didn't understand that that's what you meant. In the same way that 71% of you, when in the poll, when I ask, when Kanye says, "Zealous," does he mean all or just the bad ones? Not even 30% of you said all of them. How am I supposed to know that?
Yeah, we don't know it either. We're trying to just get this as we go along.
Right.
We're
So then
feeling. We're
maybe,
reaching out, we're touching, we're feeling, we're trying to figure out
So
what's
then
going
maybe rhetoric about the Jews does not help addressing the problem with what you are talking about.
Yeah, I did say the Jews. I apologize for that. It's
So
really
said,
just
who cares about what anyone calls anything?
I have a
In
problem
general,
with the state of
care.
Israel.
In general,
The
I don't
thing-
care. I'm just trying to understand what the position is. Why do we hate the Jews? I never got it. And so you guys have pushed me a little bit forward in the sense that, okay, you're talking
It's
about
the same reason we don't trust the Muslims, right? It's the same reason we don't trust.
But
like
that's
that
not how.
distrust of the Muslims.
That's not how I think. That's not how I think. I don't trust Islam, but an individual Muslim is their individual person.
There you go. Yep, exactly. So, now you're fighting from my side of the fence. Exactly. That's exactly right.
All right. I mean, maybe we'll have to iron this out in the after party, because I am lost.
Sorry.
I'm still slightly less, but just almost as lost.
Yep, and now
as when we started.
Defend that all the way out to the extreme. It's impossible. It's like there's something else going on here. It's clearly religion. I'm going to
give you the floor box. Let the people know whatever it is that you want to know about Israel, about Jews, about racism, about stuff that you're doing with your life, where people can find you, and what to do. The floor, sir, is yours.
I love the Jews. I love the Muslims. I love the Christians. I just have arguments about the way you try to run your states. Sorry about that. I'm going to have this fight. I'm not going to be apologetic about that. I think that people, when they get cowed into the idea of anti-Semitism or being a racist or being an anti-Islamist or whatever, this is all just language to corral people into a way of thinking, and I'm not going to participate. You can find me on Box. I don't do very much. You'll see my chats out there on YouTube. I float around.
Word up. Everybody, put Box in the chat. Thank you so very, very much for coming up. Hopefully, I will see you in the after party. Guys, remember, don't wait until somebody else is there. Shout out to Rubber Ducky, already in the party. But if you want to be part of the party, you got to make the party happen. What did we miss here from the chat? People, King Arthur said, King Author, not Arthur, author. So people listen to the most non-credible black people in the world to tell them racism doesn't exist.
Beta.
Amazing. Welcome to the party. There you go. Shout out to DJ Isolated, knowing what the fuck is good. Adam said, I am so jubilated that you guys are so like-minded. Good one. Box just doesn't understand my good nature. I think that's really what it is. That I'm not saying no, you guys are wrong. I'm just saying, that's a high level claim to say that there is a cabal of Jews that are controlling the entire world. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I am a skeptic. This is how you should approach any claim that is thrown your way. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and I'm definitely not saying that I've looked through the evidence and that I don't agree. I just, as far as an entry level discussion, I can't get past it because there's already coded language that if you're saying the Jews, but you mean this specific version, this specific group, this specific sect, I think we could all understand if we were talking about fucking, I don't know, Bible thumping or not. I think if we were talking about the group of people who were in Christianity and happened to have schizophrenia and killed their children because God told them to, I don't think we would be saying Christians are killing their children, right? It definitely is a culty language. But I think that's exactly the point, that yes, it is absolutely fair, as Rubber Ducky brought up. It's not unfair to see, well, all of these people who are saying God told them to kill their children are Christians. But I'm sure you would all be upset if I was like, Christians are just killing their babies. You'd be like, hold on, that's not part of Christianity. There's people who kill their children and also are Christian, but those are two different things. But we switch it to the Jews or the Muslims, and they're like, yeah, well, some of them are bad, so we just call them all bad. That, my friends, is what we call special pleading, and it is a logical fallacy. What else? You said I like Jews more than Indians, but I like the Indian Jesus. Is this problematic? No, totally fine. There is, but it's not just Jews, but a lot of the same bloodlines for sure. When foreigners refer to us as stupid Americans or evil Americans, is that the same thing? Because that's the entire culture behind the others. We see this rhetoric everywhere, and it's not uncommon. Fair, but I think that if somebody is talking about stupid Americans, then you wouldn't necessarily apply that to all of them, that all Americans are stupid. Whereas clearly we see that when people hear the Jews, they do think that you mean all of them. So when we hear the stupid Americans coming from foreigners, we don't get personally offended because we know that means the stupid Americans. What I'm saying is I think you guys are overestimating how much people understand the same concept, that when foreigners say stupid Americans, they don't mean every American is stupid. They're talking about the Americans that are stupid. But again, even in there, the stupid part is in there. If they were just saying fucking Americans, then again, we'd be like, hey, yo, that wasn't me. What you mean? So I think this is a rhetorical speed bump that, definitely needs to be addressed because it's not good. Jay said, DJ Isolated said, I used to be a whole ass misanthrope. It was a miserable existence. Being precise with my gripes is less stressful. Yup. And here on our boy Liberty Plus TV, so the people that work at CERN are trying to open a wormhole to a demon realm. Israel's trying to bring about the Antichrist and chopping off dicks and turning kids into Baphomet. Okay, if that's what you think they're doing, fair enough. Let's give a big shout out to our boy Box. Not only donated, but became a new member. And then, of course, our sponsor of the stream with the $10 equality and deference because vagina. Guys, thank you so very, very much for hanging out. You got an extra half hour here because Box got me in a, I can't shut up. You got an extra half hour here, but head on over to the Discord, guys. Remember, it is free to join. You can hang out right now if you click the link. But if the stream ends and you click the link, then you're not going to be able to be part of the after party unless you want to sign up. And you definitely should. But if you want to check it out for free, then come on through. I want to thank you guys so very, very much for hanging out. I know you could be doing anything in the world, and yet you are here hanging out with Morty and myself. We are live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it, dropping new videos every single day. So if you have not subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button. I would love, to hit 5K by the end of the year. Only you can help me with that. Guys, thank you so very, very much. Once again, this is Morty the Overlord, and I have been your host, Lutch, a.k.a. Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, we are out of here. Peace.